That was the E-Zone with Honeybee and Kareem Boyatings. In the entertainment block on Nationwide 90 FM.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I am George Davis.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, National Integrity Action says the court should be used to settle the dispute over how reports from the Auditor General are to be treated by Parliament.
The JCTU says House Speaker Juliet Holness was out of line when she reprimanded the clerk to the Houses of Parliament.
It smacks of autocracy. That authority to issue such a letter is not vested in the Speaker's portfolio.
Peter Bunting says Nigel Clarke's stout defense of House Speaker Juliet Holness is cloaked in self-interest.
These reports covered two agencies that are within the portfolio of the Minister of Finance. Perhaps that is why the Minister was so protective of the Speaker.
Government Senator Cavan Gale praises the Holness administration for presenting what he says is a budget for working-class Jamaicans.
7 American boys have been removed from a private institution in St. Elizabeth amid claims they were being abused.
In news from the rest of the world, state of emergency declared in parts of Belize amid spike in gang activity.
Ireland says it will intervene in genocide case brought by South Africa against Israel at the World Court.
In headline sports, 99 delegates to choose the next president of the Jamaica Cricket Association in a month's time.
And later on our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, the government will be establishing a committee to review duties applied to imported raw foodstuff following the removal of GCT. The Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clarke, will join us.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, will increased police presence on the streets of the corporate area impact the maintenance of law and order? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, stakeholders in agriculture discuss what the removal of GCT on imported raw foodstuff will mean for local farmers.
And at 8, it's Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings Weathers.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile Nationwide 90 FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store this Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, March 27, 2024.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Principal Director of National Integrity Action, NIA, Daniel Archer, says the matter of how reports from the Auditor General are handled by the Parliament needs to be settled in court. On Tuesday, House Speaker Juliet Holness directed that 2 reports from the Auditor General that had been the subject of a back and forth between Parliament and the Auditor General's department be tabled. But there's still uncertainty about how future reports from that department will be handled when sent directly to the House Speaker. Robianne Williams has more.
Daniel Archer says Jamaicans are no clearer today about how other special audit reports from the Auditor General, which for decades have been sent directly to Parliament for tabling, will now be handled.
To my mind, yes, it is inconsistent with her ruling, but we're also uncertain as to whether or not this is going to be the natural path. And it's not just convention, it's the interpretation of the law. So this is an interpretation of the law that the Auditor General's Department has followed for the last 100 years. It's also the interpretation that many legal proponents have. So the question really is, Ricardo, Tana, Nadine and listeners, what is the real interpretation?
One of the 2 reports in question was first sent to Parliament for tabling on December 28 last year. The second was sent on January 29 this year. Both reports were ordered returned to the Auditor General by the House Speaker last week. The Auditor General promptly sent them back to Parliament this week. Ms. Archer says many Jamaicans remain unconvinced by the House Speaker's management of the issue.
Where we are is at a crossroads. There are many questions that have been raised in the public domain about how Parliament is being run. And one of the things you want to do is you want to encourage trust in Parliament. You want to encourage trust in the people who govern. And this is one way to do it because you did release the opinion of the parliamentary attorney. The question is, why would you hold on then to the opinion of the Attorney General in a matter that has garnered public interest, in which you need to develop trust, and in which, if it is you are right, then, and the opinion boasts, as you have said, that you are right, then what harm is done by holding on to it and not releasing it?
Ms. Archer says it may be best to send the matter to court for an ultimate settlement.
The presentation of the opinion from the Attorney General, which is not the government's lawyer, but the people's lawyer, because the government is not the Jamaica Labour Party. The government comprises of both the ruling party and the opposition party to create what is called Parliament. And the Attorney General represents the people of Jamaica. So their opinion is something that should guide our view. I think that should be shared, failing which I do believe that there should be an interpretation of the legislation by the courts, whose duty it is to interpret the law.
The opposition PNP has suggested it may take the matter to court. Robeanne Williams for Nationwide News.
An egregious act. That's how President of the Jamaica Confederations of Trade Unions, JCTU, St. Patrice Ennis, described the letter by Speaker of the House, Juliet Holness, directed at Clarke to the Houses of Parliament, Valerie Curtis. In a letter dated March 22, 2024, the House Speaker accused Ms. Curtis of gross dereliction over her handling of reports from the Auditor General's Department. Mahira Stewart has that story.
In the letter, the House Speaker says the Clarke failed to adhere to her November 7, 2023 ruling on the handling of reports from the Auditor General. Mrs. Holness says Ms. Curtis's actions amount to a gross dereliction of duty and threaten to bring the Houses of Parliament into disrepute. She says Ms. Curtis's failure to comply with those procedures has undermined the effectiveness of the Parliament. Speaking with Nationwide News on Wednesday, Mr. Ennis says the House Speaker has no authority to admonish the Clarke.
It is an egregious act, and it smacks of autocracy, because the Speaker does not have that authority. That authority to issue such a letter is not vested in the Speaker's portfolio. To admonish the Clerk of the Houses of Parliament in a public manner at this stage of her career can only be described as something that is egregious.
Mr. Ennis says the Speaker's letter does not accord with public service regulations.
We know that there's a clear separation of powers, and the fact that the Speaker's, the Clerk of the Houses of Parliament's position is a constitutional appointment, where it is clearly stated in the staff orders and the public service regulation that if there is an infraction by a civil servant, the method and ways of how to treat with that are clearly laid out in those two documents. And it is somewhat surprising that at this juncture, so late in this lady's career, where she's coming to the end of her career, and as I understand it, is about to embark on retirement soon, it is indeed very disappointing that such a thing can happen.
The JCTU president says he has spoken to some civil servants who've expressed fear in light of the Speaker's treatment of Ms. Curtis.
I do believe that it is very disturbing to all civil servants at this time. I have interacted with some, and there's great disquiet amongst many, and they feel that if this is allowed to continue or repeats itself, then many public servants, namely civil servants, will feel intimidated and threatened in terms of how they will carry out their respective function. And so it is our position that this letter issued by the Speaker should be immediately withdrawn unreservedly, and that some dialogue takes place between the Speaker and Ms. Curtis, because it is something that we do not want to continue.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Opposition Senator Peter Bunting says Tuesday's defense of House Speaker Juliet Holness by Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke was cloaked in self-interest. Mr. Bunting made the comment as he contributed to a debate in the Senate on the appropriations bill.
The Minister of Finance spent a great deal of time in his contribution, spent a great deal of time defending the Speaker and her refusal up to yesterday to table the Auditor General reports, the Auditor General's reports. It is interesting, he spent a great deal of time in his closing yesterday, but thankfully, we have strong, courageous public officers who stand up to bullying.
Mr. Bunting says it's curious that the two reports from the Auditor General that were the subject of the tabling controversy concern two areas of government that fall under the Finance Ministry.
These reports covered two agencies that are within the portfolio of the Minister of Finance. These reports cover, in one case, the Tax Administration Jamaica, which has been paying rent or lease for the last 4 years, which had run up to $350 million and counting on a building which they have not yet occupied. They also mention another one. They also mention another one in St. Mary in Anata Bay, where the MP in a company, through a company associated with him, is the landlord. And similarly, millions of dollars spent on a building which was not occupied. Perhaps that is why the minister was so defensive, protective of the Speaker who was holding back these reports.
Peter Bunting, Opposition Senator.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says there are roughly 6,000 people living in what he calls the absolute worst conditions across the country. Speaking on Wednesday at the Jamaica Mortgage Bank's ribbon-cutting ceremony of the Vineyards at Deanery in Kingston, the Prime Minister said the situation provides ample motivation for his government to continue investing heavily in housing developments.
Everyone in Jamaica should have a minimum standard, basic standard of shelter. But as we go across our country, we do see that there are persons who are living in extremely substandard facilities. We don't have a current census as to housing standards in Jamaica, but we do have some metrics that we use. For example, the number of applications that members of parliament get for social housing. And we estimate that there are about 6,000 Jamaicans who live in the absolute worst conditions. And when I say worst condition, bear with me when I say that we have people living in abandoned cars. So government, in looking to building housing, can't just focus on lovely apartments like these. We also have to build solutions for the most vulnerable, very poor.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
A budget for the working class. That's the assessment from Government Senator Cavan Gale of the estimates of expenditure for the upcoming fiscal year. He was making his contribution to the appropriations bill in the Senate on Wednesday. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
According to Senator Gale, the priorities outlined in the estimates of expenditure for the upcoming fiscal year are proof that the Holness administration is a caring government.
The budget that I've listened to has been one of the best budgets presentations that I've heard for a very long time. And when a country is growing, it is usually demonstrated by what is given back to the working class. This is a budget that has made provisions in giving back to the working class. The government's role in fostering successive growth in the economy, creating employment opportunities, attracting investment, and providing reasonable increases to public servants cannot be understated.
Senator Gale lauded the Holness administration for not only increasing the minimum wage to $15,000 per 40-hour work week, but for raising the income tax threshold to $1.7 million. He also hailed the pending implementation of an unemployment insurance scheme for public sector workers.
We as a country must pay more attention to social services. The government has given a commitment that in the near future, a priority provision will be that of unemployment insurance. I have in my State of the Nation debate expressively supported this social mechanism for the protection of the working class. Mr. President, unemployment insurance is a good thing. It benefits the labor force. It offers temporary income to workers who may lose their jobs involuntarily, providing a kind of safety net to meet basic needs while searching for new employment. And so sometimes, we talk about these things, but people don't really understand the gravity of support that is being provided by these social mechanisms.
The government senator is also urging those young people who are currently outside the labor force to take advantage of the Community Action for Rewarding Engagement or CARE initiative. Under CARE, thousands of youngsters enrolled at the Heart NSTA Trust will be given $67,000 monthly to support their efforts to gain a skill.
A well-trained labor force not only attracts investment, but also drives innovation, productivity, and economic growth. President, that is why the Heart Trust-led provisions of skills on demand, tools for trade, uplift, and the community action for rewarding engagement are recognized as wonderful initiatives geared towards developing our labor force.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide 90 FM. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
16 minutes past 5.
Rentokil Initial is the expert in pest control, air purification, and hygiene services. Call today 876-926-4236.
The temperature by Rentokil is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
Experience togetherness this Easter, embarking on a one-of-a-kind adults-only retreat in a world where swaying palms meet endless sunsets. All-inclusive indulgence awaits here at Hideaway at Royalton Blue Waters. Tap into an all-in luxury vacation experience when you book between April 1 to 30. Contact us. Dial 876-632-7401. That's 876-632-7401. Speak to your local sales agent today.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is revolutionizing your clearance experience as our contactless clearance process becomes mandatory on April 2, 2024. This process will facilitate the clearance of all non-commercial personal shipments at our seaports with a CIF value of less than $5,000 being inspected by customs without you or your agent present. You're encouraged to make your payments using our customs mobile app, JA Customs Connect. Fees payable to your shipping agent and warehouse operator remain applicable. For further information, contact your freight forwarder or email contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or call 876-922-5140-8. The JCA's contactless clearance process is convenient, efficient, and secure. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Continuing the news, 7 American boys are now in the care of the Child Protection and Family Service Agency CPFSA after they were pulled from a faith-based institution in Treasure Beach, St. Elizabeth over allegations of abuse. It's understood the boys have been in the care of the CPFSA for the last 6 weeks. The boarding school, Atlantis Leadership Academy, caters to teenagers who are struggling with substance abuse, anxiety disorders, and deviant behavior. NBC News says the CPFSA sent an email to parents last month that the affected boys were being mistreated, amounting to abuse. They were subsequently removed from the institution on February 8. The CPFSA further noted that it's working to have the boys returned to the United States. It's not immediately clear the type of abuse the boys endured or how the allegations came to light. A court hearing was reportedly held a week after the boys were pulled from the institution, where the judge denied the school's request to return the boys into its care. It's understood another hearing is set for some time in April. Nationwide News contacted the CPFSA for comments, but they referred us to the Ministry of Education and Youth. Efforts to contact Atlantis Leadership Academy proved futile.
Director General of the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, Answered Hewitt, says Jamaica's renewable energy penetration is only at 12.9% of the country's total energy mix. That's 37.1 percentage points short of the 50% target set under Vision 2030. Vision 2030 Jamaica is the country's first long-term strategic development plan and covers the period 2009 to 2030. Mr. Hewitt says though the target is ambitious, it's attainable.
It is a very, very ambitious target, right? But there is a path towards it. But these things are never exact, right? And 2030 is just 5 years on the road.
Vision 2030 was launched in 2009. The renewable energy target under the original plan was set at 20%. Cabinet later moved it to 30%. Prime Minister Andrew Holness then increased the target to 50% in 2018, arguing that the previous figures were not ambitious enough. Currently, the bulk of the country's electricity generation comes from liquefied natural gas, heavy fuel oil, and automotive diesel oil. The renewables are supplied by wind, solar, and hydroelectric sources. Mr. Hewitt says even if the 50% target is missed, the country would still have enhanced its ability to generate and supply electricity.
You know, you'd have to line everything would have to line up perfectly to get there by 2030. But this is not. Remember that this is energy, so it's not like you're talking about capacity, right? It's not if you don't get to 2030, there is going to be a shortfall in supply. So nothing turns on it in terms of whether or not businesses are being you start to inhibit business or you have outages and nothing turns on, right? So it's not a fatality if we don't get to that target.
Answered Hewitt, Director General of the OUR. He was delivering his State of the Utility Sector report at the OUR's 10th Annual Director General Stakeholder Engagement on Tuesday.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Limited, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
In Belize, the Police Commissioner Chester Williams has defended the decision by the government to declare a state of emergency in Southside Belize City and the specific sections of the Cayo district located in the western part of the country. The SOE will remain in place for a period not exceeding 1 month, but it may be extended by a resolution passed by the country's National Assembly. The declaration of the SOE comes amid an upsurge in gang activity. Commissioner Williams dismissed suggestions the SOE is a contravention of the human rights of citizens in the affected areas. He says it cannot be right for the rights of a few bad seeds to take precedence over the rights of others in a nation of about 450,000 people.
Ireland says it will intervene in South Africa's genocide case against Israel in the strongest signal to date of Dublin's concern about Israeli operations in Gaza since the events of October 7, 2023. Irish Foreign Minister Michael Martin did not say what form his country's intervention would take, but he says while it was for the World Court to decide whether genocide is being committed, he wanted to be clear that Hamas's October 7 attack and what is happening now in Gaza represents the blatant violation of international humanitarian law on a mass scale. He says the taking of hostages, purposeful withholding of humanitarian assistance to civilians, targeting of civilians and civilian infrastructure, plus the collective punishment of an entire population has to stop. In January, the International Court of Justice, ICJ, also known as the World Court, ordered Israel to refrain from any acts that could fall under the Genocide Convention and to ensure its troops commit no genocidal acts against Palestinians. This after South Africa accused Israel of state-led genocide in Gaza.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Limited, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. National Integrity Action says the court should be used to settle the dispute over how reports from the Auditor General are to be treated by Parliament.
The JCTU says House Speaker Juliet Holness was out of line when she reprimanded the clerk to the Houses of Parliament.
It smacks of autocracy. That authority to issue such a letter is not vested in the Speaker's portfolio.
Peter Bunting says Nigel Clarke's stout defense of House Speaker Juliet Holness is cloaked in self-interest.
These reports covered two agencies that are within the portfolio of the Minister of Finance. Perhaps that is why the Minister was so protective of the Speaker.
My name is George Davis.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News Next headlines at 6.
You have dreams and goals for the future. You want to make an impact. The UWI-MONA, the #1 ranked university in the Caribbean, will help you reach your full potential. Our students have gone on to make their mark in all areas, locally and globally. Industry leaders, heads of state, and Rhodes Scholars all got their start with us. Legacies are made at the UWI-MONA. Start building yours. Apply by March 31st at mona.uwi.edu/apply.
Did you know that many of my schoolmates have an unhealthy diet, especially at school? And now 23% of them are overweight and or obese? And so one less sugary drink at my school may mean one friend less,
or 2 or 3,
at risk of cavities or diabetes. And if we're served less foods high in saturated fats, sugar and sodium, it may reduce our risk from obesity, heart disease and high blood pressure.
The solution is simple, right? Act now.
Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools.
A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. 99 delegates will be eligible to vote for the next president of the Jamaica Cricket Association at its next voting Congress scheduled for April 25 at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston. The date of the elections were decided upon following the board meeting last Thursday. The elections were due in November last year but was delayed as there was no financial statement. Nomination for president is now opened after the 21 days notice of the election was given. Incumbent Wilford Billy Haven is set to be challenged by First Vice President Dr. Donovan Bennett for the top job. Haven has been president for over 10 years and was re-elected unopposed at the last polls 2 years ago. St. Jago High School reached 44 for 6, chasing 473 runs to win against Excelsior in their ISA First Global Bank Grace Shield final at Sabina Park. Earlier, Excelsior declared their second innings on 292 for 9. Scores in the game: Excelsior 337 and 292 for 9 declared. St. Jago 157 and 44 for 6. Coach of the all-conquering Jamaica senior women's cricket team Shane Brooks is crediting the determination and all-round ability of his players for their double success in the recent West Indies tournament in St. Kitts. Jamaica won both the 50 overs and T20 Blaze titles, losing only once, that's to Guyana in the longer version, and going unbeaten in the T20 Blaze. Brooks told Nationwide Sports Today that the team deserved to be crowned champions in both competitions.
It's a very good feeling. Myself and the other coaching staff and the girls really put in a lot of work. And to know that we planned and we execute perfectly. We dominate both formats. We had persons doing exceptionally well. It's a very good feeling.
Brooks says he was always privileged to have a player like Stephanie Taylor as the team captain.
You can ask some more with Stephanie Taylor as captain. She has led West Indies for years. She has led Jamaica to many championships for years. So having her at the helm of a team, it's always an advantage. And, you know, the young players, everybody look up to her. So it's a positive for any team.
Shane Brooks, coach of the Jamaica women's cricket team. The players return to the island this afternoon. Reigning 200 meters world champion Shericka Jackson says winning an individual Olympic gold is one of her main aims for the 2024 season. Jackson won bronze in the women's 400 meters in the 2016 Rio Games in Brazil and bronze in the 100 meters in Tokyo. She has a sprint relay gold from Tokyo but wants to stand at the top of the podium in an individual race.
Not going to the whirling door and everything. I hold back my goals. I can't put them on pause a bit, but I definitely know they're in my head. It's just to put them on my paper, I put the paper on my cabinet or on my fridge. I'm yet to do that. As I said, I have the goals in my head. Definitely, I've yet to achieve a Olympic gold medal, so definitely know that that's one of the things that I want to definitely achieve. So as I said, I haven't write down my time goals as yet, and most of my goals, I know what they are, but I just haven't wrote them as yet.
Jackson, who was speaking on City Ox Mag, says Florence Griffiths Joyner's, a 34-year-old 200 meters world record of 21.34 seconds, is on her radar.
The world record, yes, it's on our mind, but it's not something that we are going to dwell on every race we go in like, oh, we want to break the world record. No. As I said, once I'm healthy, once I'm in definitely peak form, then anything is possible. But it's not, I go, oh yeah, every race I go, oh, I want to know. It's just, you have to know, as I said, I am the athlete and my coach will prepare me for the right time. So it's definitely not something that I keep on the forefront of my mind, and every race I go in, I like, oh, I want to break the world record.
That's Sherika Jackson. That's sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hyundai, the home of modern, premium, affordable vehicles. Call us at 876-630-1511. The time by Hyundai is
5:31.
You didn't know that the government decreased JUTC bus fares? Yes, it's now 70 for adults, 25 for children, and 30 for pensioners. And in April, fares will go down even further to 50 for adults, 20 for children, and 25 for pensioners.
The temperature by the office of the Prime Minister is
30 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 28 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Does your bra ride up your back? Do your shoulders hurt from carrying the weight of your breasts? These are signs of an ill-fitting bra. When was the last time you were fitted by a bra fit specialist? The bra experts at LaBelle Femme will take care of you. Drop into the store at 53 Lady Musgrave Road, Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 to 5, and you will see the difference. Or call 876-622-6091.
The Leaders Conference of Choice is back on site at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. Register now for Middle Managers Leadership Conference. Call 876-978-60012 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com. Sponsored by Make Your Mark Group, Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, JPS, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Monographic Printers, Main Event Entertainment Group, Nationwide News Network, and Visual Tech Solutions. Middle Managers Conference, May 1 to 2, 2024. Sign up at www.makeyourmarkgroup.com.
When someone is on top of things, it shows. On top of the day, on top of the game, on top of the world. And no other card puts you in charge like your new VM Visa credit card. Every click, insert, tap, or swipe solves a problem, sweetens a moment, and unlocks rewards. So what puts you in control of purchases, payments, and a global platform of perks? This card can. Get your VM Visa Gold or Visa Platinum credit card today. For more information, visit myvmgroup.com or call us at 876-754-8627.
Go crazy for this offer from Flow. Get a free Samsung phone and earbuds when you sign up for Flow Yard and Road for the special price of $4,999 plus GCT. Free is all the craze. This crazy offer won't last long. Visit discoverflow.co or your nearest Flow store for more info. Conditions apply.
Bun to me cheese, give me yummy. Bun to me cheese, give me yummy. Don't stop at just a one slice, please. No other bun, perfect for me. Yummy. For real Jamaican flavor and quality for sure this Easter. Make yummy the bun to your cheese. Yummy. Give me yummy. Yummy. Give me yummy. For the Easter, yummy bun zeta. Yummy for me family, yummy for me sir. Bun to me cheese, give me yummy. Bun to me cheese, best bun. Give me yummy.
Live exquisite this year with new arrival black and chrome fixtures for your home at Unique Living. Select from a wide variety of rain shower systems, fabulous faucets, and stylish sinks to suit your kitchen and bathrooms. Get uncompromised quality and style unique to you. Shop everything new at Unique Living, Jamaica's leading shower and faucets provider. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call 876-755-3661 to 2.
Accelerate your career with the right ally. Mona School of Business and Management. Explore our suite of highly ranked, specialized, globally competitive graduate degrees, including our internationally accredited MBA program. At MSBM, we nurture critical thinkers and innovative leaders, placing our graduates in a league of their own. Join the community of trailblazers making an impact at home and abroad. Apply online today. Global knowledge, regional solutions.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You're gonna want to buy this back. So good, it's just so good. Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. National Baking Company, just so good.
You have dreams and goals for the future. You want to make an impact. The UIMONA, the #1 ranked university in the Caribbean, will help you reach your full potential. Our students have gone on to make their mark in all areas, locally and globally. Industry leaders, heads of state, and Rhodes Scholars all got their start with us. Legacies are made at the UIMONA. Start building yours. Apply by March 31st at mona.ui.edu/apply.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good afternoon, Siobhan.
Good afternoon, Sir Hughes.
How are you?
I'm doing quite well. It's a
Good.
lovely Wednesday evening.
Well, we are going to go in our cover story this afternoon to the issue of the government establishing a committee to review duties applied to imported raw foodstuffs following the removal of the General Consumption Tax, GCT, from those items. That's according to the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clarke. And it's an issue concentrating the minds of several sectors or stakeholders in the agricultural sector. Tonna Thomas has more on that.
In his opening budget presentation 2 weeks ago, the Finance Minister said the removal of GCT from all domestic or imported raw food items was to avoid trade sanctions from other member states of the World Trade Organization, WTO. Following the announcement, stakeholders in the agriculture sector called for the government to consider increasing the stamp duty. In his closing budget presentation on Tuesday, Dr. Clarke announced that a multi-stakeholder group would be set up to review the duties applied.
We are putting together, Madam Speaker, a working group in this regard, which includes the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, and the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, inclusive of the Jamaica Customs Agency. Each of the parties to the working group will engage stakeholders in their sector. For the Ministry of Agriculture, this will include the Jamaica Agricultural Society, I believe, Minister Green. It will also include maybe even RADA and other stakeholders in the agriculture sector.
He says the government is committed to quickly reviewing the additional stamp duty regime.
The government, Madam Speaker, has the option of additional stamp duties and other duties because we are not at the maximum level for all of the products. And the government of Jamaica is committed to quickly reviewing the additional stamp duty regime, including for raw foods, with a view of making the necessary adjustments in consultation with stakeholders.
The opposition has questioned the plan to remove GCT on the items. Opposition leader Mark Golding, during his contribution to the budget debate, said an aggrieved member state must first enter into consultations with a non-compliant member state to seek changes to an offending measure. He further noted that the offending member state could win concessions before requesting the establishment of a panel to settle the dispute. But Dr. Clarke says the GCT provision is not negotiable under the WTO's General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade.
I've noted the suggestions about negotiations. You guys are wrong and strong on this. strong and wrong. You're strong and wrong. Madam Speaker, this is a black and white issue that violates a founding principle of GATT, Mr. Speaker, signed by 153 countries. It's not a negotiable provision.
Tawna Thomas for Nationwide News.
Thank you. Thank you, Tawna. Well, we are joined now by the Minister of Finance himself, Dr. Nigel Clarke. Good afternoon, Dr. Clarke.
Good afternoon, Siobhan. Good afternoon, Cliff.
Good afternoon, Minister.
Where you get jokes, Siobhan?
In a manner of speaking, sir. Straight to the point, Dr. Clarke. This matter of the GCT being removed on raw imported foods. Firstly, which food items specifically is this being removed from? I know you said that it's suggested that raw imported food covers a large category, but it's actually a few items specifically that is being targeted.
Yeah, well, it's certainly too many to list on a radio interview. What I highlighted yesterday is that Schedule 3 of the GCT Act speaks to raw foods that are not affected by this change because of how they were treated in the beginning. Okay, remember, what is a change? The change is simply to equalize the application of what are described as internal taxes to the category of raw food so that there isn't a differential in how in the application of internal taxes to domestically sourced raw foods as opposed to foreign sourced raw foods, right? But it wouldn't, if you want, the list of potential raw foods is extremely long, right? Not many of them are consumed by everybody, but it would be extremely long for me to go through all of them here.
Okay, then what exactly is excluded? Let's start there.
Well, I mean, the word excluded is what I describe as a misnomer. The third schedule of the GCT Act, I think it is item 6, and I had it in my speech yesterday, shows all of the items that are exempted, and it makes clear that those items, whether they're domestically supplied to the Jamaican market or imported and supplied to the Jamaican market, do benefit from a GCT exemption, right? So these are the items that will be relieved of GCT when they're imported. Meaning, when this regime was put in place, it was made clear that these items did not attract GCT coming in. So there's no change to these items now. Am I making any sense? Are you understanding me?
I think so, but I want to bring it down to the list.
And those items include, the ones I mentioned in my speech yesterday.
So, for example, chicken neck and back.
Exactly. And fish and onions and ground provisions, legumes, and so on. Right?
So the net effect of all that you have said is those will not now attract GCT. Or they will?
No, they will not attract GCT.
Oh, okay.
And they did not attract GCT.
Right.
So there's no change.
So there's no
with respect to
change.
these.
Okay.
And Dr. Clarke, as I understand from listening to your budget presentation, the initial attempt at this GCT was never a measure meant to protect the local market. It was actually a revenue measure used to plug a hole in the budget.
Yes, it was a revenue measure, and if you're care enough, you can go back and you'll see it in the revenue measure for revenue measures for 2012, which is listed on the Minister of Finance website, that it was a broadening of the GCT net in an attempt to raise an annualized $19 billion of revenue starting in June, which means an annualized revenue figure of $23 billion or 1.8% of GDP. And this was one of the components that GCT would be applied to raw food. there was some reaction, and the government couldn't give it all up.
So, looking ahead now to this committee that you're setting up, yes? What is the mandate of the committee? What is it that they're to do?
So let me just, if I may just say this before I address that we have import duties and additional stamp duties on a lot of raw foods coming into Jamaica. And I give the examples of some of the more popular ones: carrots, cabbages, and tomatoes, where we have duties of 100% and additional stamp duties of 80%. And these are applied, these are compounded, which means that the total amount payable is 260% before the good can come into Jamaica. And that is where the protection comes from. It doesn't come from the 15% GCT. Right? It comes from the 260% duties. Now, there are other items that don't attract, that attract heavy duties, but it may not be at the level of 100 on one hand and 80 of ASPs. And the multi-stakeholder group will look at some of these items and discuss it among themselves and ultimately make recommendations to me in my capacity as minister. For some items, the group may conclude that, look, the duties need to come down because we don't produce any of these here, right? For others, they may say, look, we need some protection. I don't want to sort of predetermine what the outcome of it is going to be. But what we are demonstrating is the transparency, the openness, the flexibility. We're listening, and we're willing to hear the views of multiple stakeholders. Now, it should be noted, Cliff, since I'm on your program, that stakeholders will have different views. So far, we have heard from, a very, very, very important stakeholder. There are other stakeholders that will have other views. Yeah, there are people who would like to see.
Who have you heard from?
Well, I'm saying we've heard in the public domain from the Jamaica Agricultural Society, but there are other stakeholders, for example, in other, in other areas of the spectrum of raw food, which is a very broad spectrum, who, would probably argue for lower prices in Jamaica, right? In a way that does not harm local producers.
Hold it there for us, Dr. Clarke. We're up on a break. Stay with us.
Yes, me get the last cheese.
Taste the beat. Brothers and sisters, at the end of Easter service, we have cheese. Taste the beat.
But one day we're getting a bun and cheese.
Taste the beat. Serve, sell me some bun and cheese. Taste the beat.
Why, this looking nice with some tasty cheese.
Taste the beat. Could I have some cheese, please? Taste the beat. Make we get on real bad with the tasty cheese, boy.
Tasty beats with tasty cheese.
Go crazy for this offer from Flow. Get a free Samsung phone and earbuds when you sign up for Flow Yard and Road for the special price of $4,999 plus GCT. Free is all the craze. This crazy offer won't last long. Visit discoverflow.co or your nearest Flow store for more info. Conditions apply.
Home is where you put down your roots. So at Sagicor Bank, we designed a mortgage with everything you need to own your home easier. Get up to 100% financing, fast processing time, up to $100,000 cash back to assist with expenses, a competitive interest rate, plus an unsecured loan of up to $2 million to go solar at home, and a special rate on home insurance. Let's help you put down your roots. Call 888-SAGICOR to apply for your Sagicor Bank mortgage. Conditions apply.
Real estate dealers and salesmen, this year's licensing period is almost here. Skip the hassle and take advantage of the Real Estate Board's new direct online client portal payment platform. Go to our client portal and create an account to get started. Whether you're paying license fees, penalties, or continuing professional development courses, status notifications give you the peace of mind that your payments were successful, and emails with meeting links for your courses. Use the Real Estate Board's new client portal payment platform. Get on with the business of turning houses, into homes.
Minutes going up to 6 o'clock. We're looking at the issue of GCT on raw imported foodstuff with the Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clarke. Minister, so this committee with several stakeholders are to meet and to decide where to go in terms of the other will you call them duties or stamp duty,
right.
Whatever?
Not to decide. They're to meet to discuss, and the committee as a whole would make recommendations. But, I want you to appreciate the complexity of the subject matter, Cliff and Siobhan. Let me just share with you an example that in CARICOM, Belize is a big supplier of certain kinds of agricultural products, suppliers to CARICOM countries and outside. And as such, member states of CARICOM have put in place regimes that allow, a regional supplier sort of a leg up, so to speak. Belize went through an experience in the aftermath of COVID where they could not get enough workers, kind of like what we experienced here, right? Can't get workers, unemployment is low, et cetera, and it interrupted their agricultural output. And Jamaica would have had in place sort of rigid sort of duty structure that didn't apply to goods from Brazil, but applied to goods from everywhere else. And so an unintended consequence of that regime was that when Belize could no longer supply the Jamaican market in the products that it supplied, we had this unintended consequences of the price of those goods going up by a large amount because they had to now come from outside. Yeah, and that happened, overnight. And we had to obviously respond and, and adjust, in that case, some of the additional stamp duties down. So I say that to say that food and food imports and the trade regime around it and the duties around it is a very dynamic area and one in which, we have to be responsive. And the responsiveness, doesn't always work in one direction, as I'm showing with that example. The responsiveness requires sometimes, bi-directional movement. And so, this stakeholder group, I'm expecting to take the task at hand with seriousness that is warranted by the complexity of the situation.
Dr. Clarke, before we move away from this matter, I have to ask, before this even goes to a matter of a committee being set aside to review it, was there any real concern on the part of the government that this removal of GCT on raw imported food would have a deleterious impact on the local agricultural sector?
I discussed this with the Minister of Agriculture before we announced that. That was the first thing that he said. So, of course, Siobhan, we are sensitive to that. What we are doing in a budget debate is describing what we plan to do. When I intend to do something in April, I say so. This was not something that apart from indicating it would happen during the fiscal year, which was important, a very important signal to send, because there are some meetings that will take place at the WTO in the first few months of the fiscal year, and sending that signal is very important, so that Jamaica remains on the right track. However, I wouldn't have given that intention as to exactly when the bill would be prepared. That the bill from the Chief Parliamentary Council and the AGC, when that process would be complete. We have an opportunity for stakeholder consultations to happen and for us to have some kind of convergence on time. I'm not promising that, but I'm saying that opportunity certainly exists.
You know the Senate met today, Finance Minister Clarke?
Yes, so I would not be aware of what was uttered in the Senate today, and Cliff, my style is not to respond to what I have not heard myself. To take your interpretation of what someone has said and ask me to respond to it. I'm not going to.
Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to play for you what the opposition Senator Peter Bunting said about you in the Senate today. Yes? Because he was commenting on the appropriations bill.
The Minister of Finance spent a great deal of time in his contributions, spent a great deal of time defending the Speaker and her refusal up to yesterday to table the Auditor General reports, the Auditor General's reports. It is interesting, he spent a great deal of time in his closing yesterday, but thankfully, we have strong, courageous public officers who stand up to bullying. These reports covered two agencies that are within the portfolio of the Minister of Finance. These reports cover, in one case, the Tax Administration Jamaica, which has been paying rent or lease for the last 4 years, which had run up to $350 million and counting on a building which they have not yet occupied. They also mention another one. They also mention another one in St. Mary in Anatomy, where the MP in a company, through a company associated with him, is the landlord. And similarly, millions of dollars spent on a building which was not occupied. Perhaps that is why the minister was so defensive, protective of the Speaker, who was holding back these reports.
Your response, Dr. Clarke?
That is just complete mischief by Senator Bunting. A couple of points. Mrs. Holness's point on the substance was that ministers are not made aware of these reports, et cetera, et cetera. And as such, I hope, Cliff, the report, I wouldn't have been aware as to what reports were under the Auditor General had sent and were sent back. I wouldn't have been aware of that. I was not aware of that. I wasn't aware that it had to do with the two reports in question. And with respect to the report on the FSC, maybe you can explain this, but there was a newspaper report on that report back in January. It appeared in the Gleaner on the report of the Auditor General of the FSC. With respect to the report on the TAJ, I wouldn't have been aware that that had been sent to the Parliament or even that it existed. So Mr. Bunting is, and I can, prove that to you. So Mr. Bunting is trying to make correlation equal to causation. My contribution to the budget debate and reference to Mrs. Holness in that debate was speaking to the fact that the leader of the opposition, in my view, is within his right to criticize the Speaker on decisions that he believes are wrong decisions. But in doing so, he ought to stick to the substance of the critique and not overturn or flip-flop on a principle that his party had accepted. And furthermore, in referring to her elevation to the position of Speaker, he ought not to refer to her as the wife. He ought to have said that the Deputy Speaker, who happens to be the wife, that would have been a preferred way of saying it, because she is in that capacity much more than a wife. She was the Deputy Speaker. So that was the substance of my contribution. I would not have known and that the reports in question were reports to do with FSC and TAJ. And had I known that, I would have, had someone else make the comments that I made. But I wouldn't have been aware of that. And I guess that was her whole point.
Yes.
That the ministers are not aware. That was her whole point.
Well, we have just received a detailed 7-page statement from Tax Administration of Jamaica, the TAJ, responding to what they're calling TAJ outlines leasing arrangements based on Auditor General's special audit. And essentially, what the TAJ is saying in these 7 pages, that the government procurement process dictated, yes, how it could proceed to occupy the properties and to utilize them. Because, and let me read the first 2 critical paragraphs. Tax Administration Jamaica wishes to place on record the costs of the leasing arrangements that are currently the subject of discussions in the public domain based on a recently tabled Auditor General's report. Properties were leased in Mandeville, Manchester, and the other in Anotta Bay, St. Mary, in accordance with the Government of Jamaica procurement policies that require, and this is a kick, that require a lease to be in place before commencing the process to procure technical service and to renovate. Once the lease is in place, then TAJ is liable to make payments. The delay in occupancy is attributed to the lengthy procurement process and build-out required to make the space suitable for the delivery of tax services, which in the instance of Mandeville had to be restarted, and both are still ongoing. Yes? So what they're saying, they can't move in, they can't begin.
Their hands are tied, essentially.
By the procurement process. This, I think, is a clear example of why the debate is on about review and revamping the procurement process.
So reducing the red tape.
Yes. Minister?
Yes, Griff. I mean, I would, I don't want to comment on that at this point, as Cliff, I read about that report in the newspaper this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I suppose that was what the speaker was trying to, that was what she was trying to address, I guess. As I mentioned to you, I was not aware that the reports in question were reports with respect to these 2 entities.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have been aware.
All right. Well,
the Auditor General would have issued, in...
Hold it, Minister. Hold it, Minister, because here's another line which is crucial. It says the GOJ procurement process requires a signed lease for property before commencing the procurement to engage technical and contracting services for works. The procurement process for renovating the space of the size leased for the RSC operations requires Cabinet's approval and a consultant to manage the project. It therefore means 2 separate procurement processes, one for the consultant and another for the build-out contractor, which cumulatively can take up to 14 months for completion. In addition to the lengthy time frame for the process, the procurement for the building contractor failed on the basis that 4 additional contractors in the category which responded to TAJ's invitation for bids were added to the procurement platform after the expression of interest phase, but before the date for return of bids in August 2, 2023. Minister, we have to fix the procurement process and fix it fast.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that speaks for itself, and which is why, sensationalization of these reports does a disservice to the country. I mean, the Auditor General does a tremendous service to the country by producing these reports. It's a tremendous service, and I'm on record for, applauding the role of the Auditor General, and I see reports like these as opportunities to improve Jamaica. And I have not you have read that statement. As I said to you, I have not seen the Auditor General's report on TAJ. I read about it in the newspaper today for the first time. However, what you just read to me just now from TAJ is worthy of deep sort of thought and consideration. I mean, what they're essentially saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, is that by definition, if you are going to occupy a new premises by way of lease that you have to modernize and upgrade, the procurement rules require that you
occupy,
first lease the place,
yes,
and then you enter into the procurement
right
for the renovation. So by definition, the rules of Jamaica require you to pay lease payments
yes
for an extensive period of time when you're not occupying the building while you go about procurement.
Yes, that's what they're saying.
And so, I know Jamaican people are fair people. To rap TAJ for obeying the rules is certainly not the healthy approach. The healthy approach is to say, look, this is certainly pointing out something that is an issue. The question is, what is the issue? And here, it certainly seems to be that the issue is that our procedures are not, don't optimize efficiency.
Yeah.
Dr. Clarke, it's not just a matter of efficiency. I mean, you pointed it out in your opening of the budget debate, how there's certain very unsatisfactory approaches in terms of government procurement, such as having to elevate certain matters to the level of cabinet, as highlighted in this report as well, where it also comes with a price tag, $300 and I believe it's $70 million in a building that has not yet been occupied.
Correct, and from what the statement that you read just now, that is as a result of abiding by the government of Jamaica procedures. So you abide by the government of Jamaica procedures, the outcomes are not always what would be considered to be optimal.
Yes.
Which means we have to take a look at those procedures, as I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
But to be very clear again, Cliff, when all this kerfuffle has been happening over the past few weeks or months about reports, I was certainly not aware that those reports were connected with the FSC and the TAJ. As I mentioned earlier in this interview, the report on the FSC was in the press, was in the Gleaner in January. So I was aware of that because it was in the newspapers. I don't know how it got there, but it certainly was in the newspaper. I can show you the clip.
Okay.
But I wouldn't have been aware that the reports that were the subject of this sort of back and forth were those. And as I said, I can prove that to you because
you said so.
Instructions were meant. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I don't want to go there and betray.
We're way beyond 6 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Nigel Clarke, the Minister of Finance. Time for the break.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
8 minutes after 6.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, from luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
Headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Principal Director of National Integrity Action, NIA, Daniel Archer, says the matter of how reports from the Auditor General are handled by the Parliament needs to be settled in court. On Tuesday, House Speaker Juliet Holness directed that 2 reports from the Auditor General that had been the subject of a back and forth between Parliament and the Auditor General's department be tabled. But there's still uncertainty about how future reports from that department will be handled when sent directly to the House Speaker.
To my mind, yes, it is inconsistent with her ruling, but we're also uncertain as to whether or not this is going to be the natural path. And it's not just convention, it's the interpretation of the law. So this is an interpretation of the law that the Auditor General's Department has followed for the last 100 years. It's also the interpretation that many legal proponents have. So the question really is, Ricardo, Tana, Nadine, and listeners, what is the real interpretation?
Ms. Archer says it may be best to send the matter to court for an ultimate settlement.
The presentation of the opinion from the Attorney General, which is not the government's lawyer, but the people's lawyer, because the government is not the Jamaica Labour Party. The government comprises of both the ruling party and the opposition party to create what is called Parliament. And the Attorney General represents the people of Jamaica. So their opinion is something that should guide our view. I think that should be shared, failing which I do believe that there should be an interpretation of the legislation by the courts whose duty it is to interpret the law.
Daniel Archer, Principal Director of the NIA. Statutory interpretation lawyer Shane Dalling says the Speaker of the House, Juliet Holness, is correct in her interpretation of the law with respect to the tabling of 2 special audit reports commissioned by the Auditor General. He says the controversy over the tabling of reports from the Auditor General should be settled in court.
The Speaker is correct, Chris, in my interpretation right here, Chris. And it is supported by the very sections of the law. And 2, Chris, the resolution should be had where there is such a conflict, either by seeking the court's intervention, because here what I call 2 constitutional offices, the Auditor General's office and the House of Parliament. Where that exists, Chris, I don't believe even the Attorney General should get involved there. I think the matter should have gone to court to seek a declaration of it, and that would resolve the matter.
Dalling argues that the procedure for the tabling of reports relating to public bodies differ from those governing central government departments. Further, he says where conflicts exist, the law is the final.
Let me say boldly here, because this is a matter of law and should not be a matter of politics in any shape or form. And I don't believe any interpretation of the law should be dealt with in any political way. The law is the law.
Shane Dalling, Statutory Interpretation Attorney. Opposition Senator Peter Bunting says Tuesday's defense of House Speaker Juliet Holness by Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke was cloaked in self-interest. Mr. Bunting made the comment as he contributed to a debate in the Senate on the Appropriations Bill.
The Minister of Finance spent a great deal of time in his contributions, spent a great deal of time defending the Speaker and her refusal up to yesterday to table the Auditor General reports, the Auditor General's reports. It is interesting, he spent a great deal of time in his closing yesterday, but thankfully, we have strong, courageous public officers who stand up to bullying.
Mr. Bunting says it's curious that the 2 reports from the Auditor General that were the subject of the tabling controversy concern 2 areas of government that fall under the Finance Ministry.
These reports covered two agencies that are within the portfolio of the Minister of Finance. These reports cover, in one case, the Tax Administration Jamaica, which has been paying rent or lease for the last 4 years, which had run up to $350 million and counting on a building which they have not yet occupied. They also mentioned another one. They also mentioned another one in St. Mary in Anatomy, where the MP in a company, through a company associated with him, is the landlord. And similarly, millions of dollars spent on a building which was not occupied. Perhaps that is why the minister was so defensive, protective of the speaker who was holding back these reports.
Peter Bunting, opposition senator. Those are the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Sports is next.
Get up to $1 million off everything. With the Mitsubishi $1 million sale. Price a slash save cash run come catch the Mitsubishi $1 million sale. Get up to $1 million off on your brand new Mitsubishi ASX or Pajero Sport with the Mitsubishi $1 million sale. Plus 3 years warranty, 2 years free servicing, and 1 year free Amber Tracker. Follow us on social media at Mitsubishi JA for more info. Hurry up and come get this deal while stocks last. Only at Stewart's Automotive Group, South Camp Road, Kingston, and Iron Shorma Bay. Conditions apply.
Outperform, outlast. With top performance. Jackama. Reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electrician. Pan select tools, 3 parts and 3 repairs. 3 parts, 3 repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
No matter where in this world I go, I am a Jamaican.
It's festival time again. Buju Banton entered and won. You could be this year's lucky winner of $3 million in prizes. The Jamaica Festival Song Competition 2024. Enter your song today online at jcdc.gov.jm.
Cause I am a Jamaican. I have Jamaican what them.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. 99 delegates are eligible to choose the next president of the Jamaica Cricket Association at its voting congress scheduled for April 25 at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston. The date of the elections were decided upon following the board meeting last Thursday. The elections were due in November of 2023 but was delayed as there was no financial statement. Nomination for president is now open after the 21 days notice of the election was given. Incumbent Wilford Billy Haven is set to be challenged by the first vice president, Dr. Donovan Bennett, for the top job. Haven has been president for over 10 years and he was re-elected unopposed at the last polls some 2 years ago. Excelsior High School are ISA First Global Bank Grey Shield cricket champions. They beat St. Jago. In fact, they crushed St. Jago by 420 runs in the final, which was completed a short time ago at Sabina Park. Chasing 473 to win, the Monk Street-based St. Jago was bowled out for 52. Tamari Redwood picked up 5 wickets and Michael Clarke 3 for Excelsior. Earlier, Excelsior declared their second innings and 292 for 9. Final scores: Excelsior 333 for 7 and 337 all out and 292 for 9 declared. St. Jago 157 and 52. Coach of the all-conquering Jamaica Senior Women's Cricket Team, Shane Brooks, is crediting the determination and all-round ability of his players for their double success in the recent West Indies tournaments in St. Kitts. Jamaica won both the 50 overs and T20 Blaze titles, losing only to Guyana in the longer version and going unbeaten in the T20 Blaze. Brooks told Nationwide Sports that the team deserved to be crowned champions in both competitions.
It's a very good feeling. Myself and the other coaching staff and the girls really put in a lot of work. And to know that we planned and we execute perfectly. We dominate both formats. We had persons doing exceptionally well. It's a very good feeling.
Brooks says he was also privileged to have a player like Stephanie Taylor as the team captain.
You can ask for more with Stephanie Taylor as captain. She has led West Indies for years. She has led Jamaica to many championships for years. So having her at the helm of a team, it's always an advantage. And, the young players, everybody look up to her. So it's a positive for any team.
Shane Brooks, coach of the Jamaica women's cricket team, the players return to the island this afternoon. Sunrisers Hyderabad smashed 277 for 3, the highest total in Indian Premier League history, in a record-breaking 31-run victory against the Mumbai Indians. Opener Travis Head hit 62 from 24 balls. Abhishek Sharma, 23 balls he took to make 63, and Heinrich Klaassen, he was 80 not out from 34 balls. They took Sunrisers beyond the previous IPL record of Royal Challengers Bangalore, 263 for 5 in 2013. The Mumbai Indians made a decent run at the chase, making the match the highest scoring T20 in history, but ended on 246 for 5. Sunrisers' total was also the 4th highest in any men's T20 and the highest in a T20 franchise tournament. The men's T20 record is held by Nepal. They scored 314 for 3, and it came against Mongolia last year. Afghanistan made 278 for 3 against Ireland in 2019. The Czech Republic posted 278 for 4 against Hungary later that year. Reigning World 200 meters champion Shericka Jackson says winning an individual Olympic gold is one of her main aims for the 2024 season. Jackson won bronze in the women's 400 meters at the 2016 Games in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and she took bronze in the women's 100 meters in Tokyo in 2021. She has a sprint relay gold from Tokyo as well, but she wants to stand at the top of the podium in an individual event.
Not going to the world indoor and everything, I hold back my goals. I can't put them on pause a bit, but I definitely know they're in my head. It's just to put them on my paper, put the paper on my cabinet or on my fridge. I'm yet to do that. As I said, I have the goals in my head. Definitely, I've yet to achieve an Olympic gold medal, so definitely know that that's one of the things that I want to definitely achieve. So as I said, I haven't write down my time goals as yet, and most of my goals, I know what they are, but I just haven't wrote them as yet.
Jackson, who was speaking on Citius Mag, says Florence Griffiths Joyner's 34-year-old 200 meters world record of 21.34 seconds is also on her radar.
The world record, yes, it's on our mind, but it's not something that we are going to dwell on every race we go in here like, oh, we want to break the world record. No. As I said, once I'm healthy, once I'm in definitely peak form, then anything is possible. But it's not, I go, oh yeah, every race I go, oh, I want to know. It's just, you have to know, as I said, I am the athlete and my coach will prepare me for the right time. So it's definitely not something that I keep on the forefront of my mind, and every race I go in, I like, oh, I want to break the world record.
That's Shericka Jackson. She says she knows what her goals are. She's not put them on her dresser or on her fridge. They're in her head. Now that the Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Championships is over, some of the country's best junior athletes will now turn their attention to the CARIFTA Championships in Grenada this weekend. Jamaica will be sending an 81-member team to the Games after adding Mushat High School's Osmond Holt and St. Jago's Kamika Smith to the team. Holt finished the third in the decathlon at Champs and will participate in the octathlon, and Smith will be participating in the heptathlon after winning at Champs. Meanwhile, St. Jago's Shania Campbell was withdrawn from the team and was replaced by her teammate Dora Campbell for the under-17 girls 200 meters. Michael Carr, who will serve as one of the coaches on the technical team, is confident Jamaica will secure its 38th straight hold on the title.
I expect a dominant performance as usual. I think, right across we have a spread that should dominate again. The only thing we need to look at is that a lot of the kids from the other islands are here in Jamaica in terms of going to school here. So when we are going to compete against some of those same kids who probably would have won at Champs. It is expected anyway for us to once again dominate.
Carr says several of the other Caribbean countries will benefit from having athletes live and train in Jamaica.
Remember last year when the team was traveling, it's like you nearly had to get another plane for other members of other countries who are actually based in Jamaica. And I see that this time it should be no different. But then again, guess what happened now? If you can't beat them, you have to join them. And I think that is what some of the islands are saying. Hey, let's go to Jamaica and get some of this good coaching and thing and see if we can improve our standard here, which, you know, we are doing, and they are seeing the results. But overall, as I said before, our team, I think, is pretty balanced in all areas, whether it be in the field or on the track.
That's Michael Carr, one of the technical coaches to the CARIFTA Games with Jamaica. That's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:24.
Cool loans, I lend you 500 grand. We buy appliances and electrons. All flexible, payment plan. Yeah, man, a hot cash. Hot. I hope to 500 grand. Yeah, man, a hot cash. $500,000 that make you rich fast. 100 grand for buy steel and black. 200 for furniture, laptop. 200 for keep birthday bash. Yeah, money loan hot. Get a cool loan to purchase all your electronics, furnitures, and appliances at coolmarket.com.
Did you know that many of my schoolmates have an unhealthy diet, especially at school? And now 23% of them are overweight and or obese? And so one less sugary drink at my school may mean one friend less,
or 2 or 3,
at risk of cavities or diabetes. And if we're served less foods high in saturated fats, sugar and sodium, it may reduce our risk from obesity, heart disease and high blood pressure.
The solution is simple, right? Act now.
Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools.
A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
There's a new gym on the block. Listen up, Portmore. Express Fitness is coming to the Big Buy Plaza. Get ready to sweat at our brand new location. And here's the best part. To celebrate, we're offering an unbeatable deal of only $1,000 for the first month. That's right. For only $1,000, you'll have access to state-of-the-art equipment and a community that's all about reaching your fitness goals. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer. Head down to Express Fitness at Big Buy Plaza in Portmore, where your journey to a better you begins.
You have dreams and goals for the future. You want to make an impact. The UWI Mona, the #1 ranked university in the Caribbean, will help you reach your full potential. Our students have gone on to make their mark in all areas, locally and globally. Industry leaders, heads of state, and Rhodes Scholars all got their start with us. Legacies are made at the UWI Mona. Start building yours. Apply by March 31st at mona.uwi.edu/apply.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robianne Williams. A special good evening to our friends on our YouTube platform. We invite you, as always, to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. It's midweek. It's Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday. All right, so let's get to it. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, well, they've launched a beat officer patrol division across the Kingston and St. Andrew metropolitan region. Now, the rollout, which falls under the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, PSTEB, forms part of the JCF's move to bolster public safety and strengthen community policing efforts. Assistant Commissioner of Police, ACP Gary McKenzie, is the head of PSTEB.
The spread is from Constant Spring right into downtown Kingston. It began operation March the 25th. The objectives of the Beat Officer Patrol Division include high visibility and reassurance of citizens. We need to ensure public order as well as public safety, especially within public spaces. We aim also to be highly visible and preventive in areas that have a lot of traffic, to include pedestrians and other persons who are conducting their business.
That's ACP Gary McKenzie there. He is the head of PSTEB. So in Public Opinion today, we're asking, will increased police presence on the streets of the corporate area impact the maintenance of law and order. You heard ACP Mackenzie there speaking about public order. We're disorderly. Yeah? So let's get to the comments on our Facebook platform real quick. Winston says the only way their presence wouldn't impact the keeping of law and order is if the police themselves are involved in breaking the law. Therefore, if the police aren't involved in wrongs, then yes, the presence of the police will impact law and order in a positive way. Audley Phillips says increased police presence always make a difference. To sustain such a presence is the real issue. And there we go. We have a problem with enforcement. I'll read that again. Audley Phillips says to sustain such a presence is the real issue. Beverly Barrett says should be if the citizens are interested in law and order. And there again, that's another thing. CJ says yes, but the Jamaican citizenry is largely unafraid of the police. Yeah, man. This is the first country where I see people come out and physically attack police. Fabian Smith says, yes, I really hope it does. Some things shouldn't happen for he's saying that the same thing should happen for downtown Kingston. It will happen. So he says, ACP Mackenzie says it stretches from Constant Spring area going all the way to downtown Kingston, halfway tree included. Rosalind Buck says yes, she believes that increased police presence on the streets will impact the maintenance of law and order. Christopher Isaac says it should. Dervon Ennis says, I think it will make a big difference. While Colette Walker is saying, not at all. She don't think it will make a difference because she's saying, can't you see that they're not afraid to war the police? That in and of itself is a problem, is a whole issue that. Philip Jackson says, yes, when the cats are away, then the mouse will play. Deterrent is what it's called by police being visible. But the biggest police presence is the people of these communities. If you see something, say something. And that's what people now do, don't it? All when them see. On our X platform, if you're just joining us, we're asking, will increased police presence on the streets of the corporate area impact the maintenance of law and order? And we're referring to public order in this instance, yeah? On our X platform, Griot says, for about a week or so, and that's the comment, that's the response, it seems, that, to sustain the police presence, just to have sustained police presence on the streets, that's another question. Desmond Campbell says, police presence will influence law and order, of course. And he's saying members of police will shoot. We're afraid of them. However, it's typical that perpetrators go elsewhere when police presence in an area the perpetrators once created problems. You're talking about migration there. Think Different says it can deter criminal activity, improve response times to incidents, and increase the visibility of law enforcement, which can enhance feelings of safety among residents and visitors. That is true. Derek McCreath says yes, indeed. DJ is saying it will if it is maintained. But then again, this is Jamaica. We don't maintain anything. The millennial is saying, in a way, yes, but them unlawful people not have a bone of fear in a them. We're disorderly, We, of the members of the public, very disorderly. Let me see if I can get to some of the comments on our YouTube platform. Let me see. Betsy. No, you're referring to something else. Oh, wow. A lot of comments here, but not in relation to the public opinion, eh? All right. Let's see on our Instagram platform real quick. O'Shane believes to an extent it will have some degree of it will make some degree of difference. Sash Dom says it needed everywhere in Jamaica at this point, and ACP Mackenzie did say that they'll be looking to extend it in the rural areas. Let me see. Michael Raffington says definitely most of us only do the right thing when we're forced to. Sadi, most of us are unruly when authorities are not around. Yeah. Think about the traffic situation in the townships, yeah? More police presence on the road to encourage law and order. Let me see if I can get... Miller 9 says deploy them into where crime is being committed. Make some of them stop, take set per motorists. That more was solved than traffic. Well, traffic is also a big concern, Miller. So yeah, if we have them on the road, if we have them in the streets, listen, remember say a whole heap of people are getting mobbed and so, a whole heap of people also being robbed. So I believe that an increased presence of police in the townships, of course it will make a difference. Public order is very, very important. And we just disorderly in the townships. Vehicle park here, there, and everywhere. Vendors on the streets everywhere, taking up the sidewalks and everything. People can't walk in peace, So there are a lot of issues in the townships, and of course I welcome the police presence, Feel a little bit more safer. Kimmy says yes, especially from the hooligans. Brian believes that it will still be chaotic and full of criminal. Everybody has their own opinion, yes? But thank you guys so much for participating. Remember, you do have the option of agreeing and or disagreeing. You're entitled to your own opinion. That's all the time. Do stay tuned for the business report.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Annual eye examinations not only assess your vision, but may be life-saving. Eye tests may detect serious health issues that go beyond your vision. Call IQ Optical to schedule your comprehensive eye test today.
The temperature by IQ Optical is
6:34. That should be 29 degrees Celsius in Kingston and 27 out west in Montego Bay.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Donut company and coffee house chain Krispy Kreme has added its fourth location in Portmore, St. Catherine. Krispy Kreme opened the doors to its new store at 3 Portmore Parkway in St. Catherine on Saturday, March 23. Now, ahead of the addition of the fourth store, Krispy Kreme only operated in Kingston from its Waterloo Road, Manor Park, and downtown Kingston outlets. In other news, concerns have been raised for a ripple effect on global supply chains after a container ship crashed into a bridge in the U.S. city of Baltimore. The ship, named the Dolly, hit a support column of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in the early hours of Tuesday morning, causing it to collapse. The bridge spanned the entrance to the port of Baltimore, the busiest port in the U.S. for car exports, and also the busiest for foreign cargo. 6 people are missing, presumed dead. Officials have said that maritime traffic through the port, which last year amounted to more than 47 million tons of foreign cargo, will be suspended until further notice. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 154 Jamaican dollars and 78 cents to buy $1, 195 Jamaican dollars and 64 cents to buy £1 British pound, and 114 Jamaican dollars and 93 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Get up to $1 million off everything. With the Mitsubishi $1 million sale. Price a splash, save cash, run, come catch the Mitsubishi $1 million sale. Get up to $1 million off on your brand new Mitsubishi ASX or Pajero Sport with the Mitsubishi $1 million sale. Plus 3 years warranty, 2 years free servicing, and 1 year free Amber Tracker. Follow us on social media at Mitsubishi JA for more info. Hurry up and come get this deal while stocks last. Only at Stewart's Automotive Group, South Camp Road, Kingston, and Iron Shorma Bay. Conditions apply.
Home is where you put down your roots. So at Sagicor Bank, we designed a mortgage with everything you need to own your home easier. Get up to 100% financing, fast processing time, up to $100,000 cash back to assist with expenses, a competitive interest rate, plus an unsecured loan of up to $2 million to go solar at home, and a special rate on home insurance. Let's help you put down your roots. Call 888 Sagicor to apply for your Sagicor Bank mortgage. Conditions apply.
Max Field Bakery, breads and buns and
Maxfield Bakery for breads and buns and
the juicy fruity Easter bun. Order online and send abroad at maxfieldbakery.com or call Maxfield Bakery at 926-2160 or 929-3897 and get yours before they're done. Scatter says so.
There's a new gym on the block. Listen up, Portmore. Express Fitness is coming to the Big Buy Plaza. Get ready to sweat at our brand new location. And here's the best part. To celebrate, we're offering an unbeatable deal of only $1,000 for the first month. That's right. For only $1,000, you'll have access to state-of-the-art equipment and a community that's all about reaching your fitness goals. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer. Head down to Express Fitness at Big Buy Plaza in Portmore, where your journey to a better you begins.
The Jamaica Conch Cluster JCC has received a groundbreaking achievement in receiving the Marine Stewardship Council certification for the Jamaica Queen Conch. This means that the JCC can proudly bear the MSC logo, signaling commitment, sustainability, and profitability. Special thanks to the Government of Jamaica and its agencies and their implementation and funding partners, the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility. For more information, visit the MSC website at www.fisheries.msc.org or contact them directly at conclusterjam@gmail.com.
The Olympic Games 2024 live from Paris in France, exclusively on Nationwide 90 FM.
The Jamaican star shines bright once again.
Live here halfway through Olympic finals.
This summer, Nationwide 90 FM is coming in hot.
Jamaica to the blacks!
Nationwide 90 FM will be blazing as we bring you the games of the 33rd Olympiad live from the French capital, Paris. 16 fantastic days of competition in 41 sports.
Noblin Williams-Mills coming, McCrory flapping, her arms are waving, and Noblin Williams-Mills coming through for Jamaica's gold.
The station will bring you analysis and live coverage from the opening day of competition, Friday, July 26th to the very last day of action on Sunday, August 11th.
And supportsmen, let's go! Oh, what a run!
Everything and anything Paris Olympic Games 2024 can be heard right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
It is a glittering gold for Sharika Jackson, and how they will celebrate that back in Jamaica.
We'll capture the spirit of athleticism. We'll narrate the Olympic fever, define thrilling moments, and report on the blood, sweat, and tears of the world's greatest athletes. Nationwide 90 FM is going to the Paris Olympic Games, and we're taking you with us. Tune into Nationwide 90.3, 90.5, 90.7, and 90.9 for live updates and commentary. We'll be giving the listeners a front row seat to witness excitement, triumph, and memories.
And I think it was a clean sweep for the Jamaicans.
Stay tuned to Nationwide 90 FM 24/7. Experience the Paris Olympic Games 2024 right here on the Revolution in Media Nationwide 90 FM, your Olympic Center. Exclusively on Nationwide 90 FM.
Nationwide 90 FM, the station for the very latest in news and current affairs, will broadcast live from the Dairy Revitalization Project launch on Thursday, March 28, 2024 at the Northern Caribbean University. Cliff Hughes Online will be live on the ground, interacting with the likes of the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, the Honourable Floyd Green, and State Minister, the Honourable Frank Witter, various students from surrounding schools, and more. Expect this and so much more when you tune in to Nationwide 90 FM from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's a live broadcast of the Dairy Revitalization Project launch during Cliff Hughes Online, Thursday, March 28 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Jamaica Dairy Development Board.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
The Oasis is brought to you by Solar Tech Jamaica. We use the gift of the sun to power our world.
Good evening, good evening. This is The Nation's Business, and I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good evening once again. Thank you so much, Siobhan.
We're continuing our discussion regarding this matter of the GCT, which will be lifted on imported raw foodstuffs in response to requirements from the World Trade Organization. We're going to have with us now, to continue this discussion, President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society, Lenworth Fulton, President of the St. Elizabeth Manchester Vegetable Growers Associations, Anthony Freckleton, and Chairman of the Potato and Onion Producers Association of Jamaica, Sherman Campbell. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Starting with you, Lenworth Fulton, I believe you were one of the first persons to raise a concern regarding the lifting of this GCT on raw imported foods. Based on what the minister has now said in his closing of the budget debates, are you a little less concerned?
A little less concerned, but it still means that the balance is tipped in the favor of importers. And it's something that we don't know how it will play out, because import is 15% cheaper to do now than before. So if the WTO said we have to go this route, then I would have expected some more balancing and some more of our farmers. You see where the vegetables will come from, mostly in North America, especially in the USA. 10 years ago, their subsidies on farms were $10 billion. In 2018 to 22, that went up to $45 billion in subsidies in agriculture. This is what we are competing against. We just don't afford it, nor can we in terms of land size and so on. So we are not saying we are not to import, because we have been importing when we can't produce here. But we need to nurture our farmer. In 2022, these same vegetable farmers produced 293,800 tons of vegetables. So they have the capability to go up to 400,000-500,000 tons. Mm-hmm. But they need irrigation water, they need cold storage, they need loan. Loan going into the agricultural sector in 2022 was a paltry 46 million Jamaican dollar. And despite all of that, our farmers have been contributing 8% to the GDP and up to 12% when you put in the value added. So we need, there are certain things that we're asking the minister to do. And I know they can't be done all at once. To remove the GCT from tools and planting materials and so on. And to assist poultry farmers
in getting more eggs, which is the cheapest protein, to the Jamaican people by removing the GCT and table eggs. So I sincerely hope that the working group will be able to get some of these on the table. And if I am invited, I will do my best on that group.
But you are going to be invited as the president of the JAS, Mr. Fulton. Is there any doubt about that?
There's a lot of doubt. There are a lot of things that happen. A lot of launch, a lot of things that the JS is not invited to, maybe. Some of my articles also do not find favor with the powers that be. But I am here to represent the farmer. You see, Cliff, when you look on data that I could send you from Statin, the 249,000 registered farmers in this country, Statin claims that among them, there are 33.1% illiterate people. That's Statin data. And I take that very seriously to try to defend them and give them a voice. Because they are not the people who sit on the roadside digging out their hand litter. They are the people that produce in 2022 208,000 tons of yams, you know. These are the people without all the hard conditions still help us to export $273 million. So there are people who we need to protect, and we not need to give them anything. We need to make them more efficient.
Oh, hold it for me there, Mr. Fulton. Let me bring in Anthony Freckleton, president of the St. Elizabeth Manchester Vegetable Growers Association. Mr. Freckleton?
Yes, good evening, Francis.
Good evening. And Sherman Campbell, we're coming to you shortly. But Mr. Freckleton, how you see this thing playing out and being part of this committee now that will sit and review and make some recommendations? What are the key points that you will have to consider if you are invited to sit around this table?
First of all, I am still awaiting an explanation as to the basis by which the WTO made that recommendation or directive to the country, right? There must be a basis for the removal of the GCT on raw goods coming into the country. Because at the same time, over the last 20 years, consistently, we have been told that the Jamaica and the Caribbean islands, our food import bill has been unsustainable, and it has been rising every year. So we need an explanation, right? We should have an ear of the WTO to come down here and explain to us how is that going to benefit our food security, our food sovereignty, right? How is it going to protect the livelihood of, as Mr. Fulton said, 290,000 farmers and their families down here? And this is coming at a time when the gap between supply and demand was narrowing considerably over the last couple of months, and we all can remember. So there must be a basis. If we agree, we have to know, we come to a realization in this country as to the value of agriculture to our economy, right? And it must be occupy an important pillar of our economy and support it accordingly. We can't be 20, 25, 30 years later bemoaning the fact about GCT and tools and stuff coming in for the inputs and all of that. We have to import all the inputs, the seeds and everything for production of agriculture. How on earth then are we going to compete? And also in the context, we must remember, that decades ago, Haiti was self-sufficient in rice production in that country until they were told to remove the tariffs on imported rice coming in. No, I don't need to go any further when it comes to that. So, whatever I acknowledge, and we acknowledge, that the economy of the country has been moving along quite nicely. The debt to GDP ratio has been remarkable so far, brought it down. But I am sure that the WTO was that inspired by a dream to come up with this recommendation to Jamaica. I call it a recommendation, maybe it's a directive, to remove the GCT. I can't see the positives from this move at all. I cannot see that at all.
Just to be clear, Mr. Freckleton, it's not a recommendation. That is a trade law established in 2012 by the WTO under the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. It's not something that they get, that the Jamaican government gets some recommendation from the WTO that we say you could put this in place. This is the WTO saying you have been violating the law and we would like it to be changed.
Mm-hmm. And what about that law now that says that you can prevent imports coming into your country if you can prove that your production levels? Is that still on the books?
I'm not sure. I can only speak to this specific Article 3 of the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs.
Okay. So we have been violating that law for a number of years, right? And we now have to remove that. Is that what you're telling me now? So it's a law that we have signed on to, right?
We've signed up to the WTO, and we've been a member of the WTO for decades now. So we have to, as best as possible, comply with WTO requirements.
And there is no opportunity for appeal?
I'm sure the government has appealed this because, as I said, the WTO here was here in Jamaica in November and it was brought up again. CARICOM also brought this matter to the WTO when we were violating the trade agreement with CARICOM, and they were forced to remove the said same GCT on CARICOM raw imported foods coming to Jamaica. So this is not even the first time we've run afoul of this law.
Okay. Now I get the point, right? So the WTO, as far as I may understand, was established to regulate global trade, right? To ensure fairness in that matter. So the point we're going to have to sit down now as a country and see there must be a reason why we have violated that rule for so long, right? There must be a reason for that, and also to determine what are going to be the negative effects of this.
Hold it there for me, Mr. Freckleton.
Yeah.
Let me bring in Sherman Campbell, Chairman of the Potato and Onion Producers Association. Mr. Campbell?
Yes, good evening, Jim.
Good evening. From your association's perspective, let me hear your views.
All right. So let's first understand how the association functions and who comprises of the association. Most of us started out in this association as importers, and some of us are still importers. And it was part of the government's mandate some years ago to drive local production, that it made recommendations that most importers should have relationships or drive production. So part of those relationships would be establishing relationships with farmers, to establish productions, or getting into farming themselves. So most of our members participate in production through either farming for themselves, right, and they're still importers, or having partnerships with farmers. So the point I'm making is that we are seeing it on both sides. And one of the things that we're seeing now, which doesn't really make sense for us, is in the last 7 years, right, we've brought potato production to about 75 to 80% self-sufficiency. We've closed the gap. So over those years, we keep increasing our production. We have, with our partnerships with RADA, right, in helping our farmers to improve their planting techniques, right, by helping them to manage with post-harvest management, driving that kind of production. No, it's like you're setting us back, because we are almost in line with what it would normally cost us to import potatoes. Our farmers have been doing well. And now you're taking, you're taking away the GCT, right? Which you're now making it cheaper to import to compete with local production. But why is that not translated in taking away the GCT on the seed to import? So you take away the kale potato has no GCT, but seed potato, the import, the seed potato for planting still has GCT. The implements still have GCT. So why are we moving the goalpost? We consume 2 million pounds of onions a month in this country. I don't think there's any vegetable that compares to onion. There's no starch that compares to in terms of consumption. We consume a similar amount in Irish potatoes. So I cannot imagine why we're not translating some of this GCT on inputs for seed material, why we're not taking it away from tractors, why we're not taking it away from implements and small implements that farmers can use, and raw material and farming material, irrigation. So why we're not? How I can't? It doesn't make sense to me. And that is why
you will be at the table. You will be at the table of this committee, right?
Well, we have to be.
Right.
We have to be. As Mr. Fulton said, earlier, one of the things we're setting our farmers back. We can't be doing this for farmers. This is not an incentive for them to continue growing. They can't compete with local production. And every time we drive the production up, we're moving the needle. 4 or 5 years ago, we were producing 12% of our consumptive needs in onions.
Mm-hmm.
We have our farmers doing well as far as St. Thomas. We are close to 50% of our consumptive needs in onions. Why are we not trying to incentivize our farmers by reducing the cost? The farmers complain every day. One of the biggest challenges they have is the cost of chemical with tax, with the cost of input fees with tax, the cost of fertilizer with tax.
And Mr. Fulton, I wonder if that is the solution, because when I looked at some of the cumulative tariffs and other duties that many of the imported products are brought in under, I'm talking in some cases in excess of 300% of the original value of the product. And I had myself wondering, we are really incapable of competing with an item that's marked up 3 times its original price. Doesn't that mean there's something fundamentally wrong with how we're conducting agriculture in the country?
I don't know if the word fundamentally wrong is the right phrase. We are a small nation. A farmer cannot get up this morning and say they are going to expand their production on 200 acres or 2,000 acres. Where those who are selling their things here have vast expanse of land. That's how God made the world. So we must now take a decision that because of our small size and because of our demographics, where our farmers live in their little enclaves and we don't want them to move, we want rural Jamaica to flourish, then we must say to them, go and find something else to earn foreign exchange so that the government can import your food. So we have to now sit and put some sense and some balance to the argument. Our farmers depend on rainfall. So government would have to create the enabling environment. And I said it again probably on this program, also on the program, where government created the enabling environment for tourism. They built port to hold the biggest mega line carrying tourists here, from Port Royal to Port Antonio to Ocho Rios, Falmouth, Montego Bay. These ports were not built by those who own the mega line. So we want government to invest in agriculture and create the enabling environment to get us proper storage. We'll pay for it. To get us irrigation water, we will pay for it. Mm-hmm. To get us farm road, our tax should give us that. So there are some things that we want them to do, and to remove, as Mr. The goodly gentleman from Irish Potato and Onion said, remove some of the GCT from planting material and tool. We have to keep our agriculture going. It is what keeps rural people in their little villages and the little townships about, the little grocers, and to keep these little basic schools and primary schools in these areas going. We need to keep our farmers in the field. It's a big issue that we need to discuss very deeply.
Mr. JAS President Lenworth Fulton, let me ask you, how is the drought, impacting the sector that's raging in parts of St. Elizabeth?
We are stealing some drought again, and that's the point, certainly, because every time you have 2 or 3 weeks of drought, farmers suffer, and it can be abated with irrigation water. But it's a very serious problem. It has wiped out farmers. Mr. Freckle can tell you the damage that it has done to vegetable farmers. And vegetable that he's talking include those who grow cucurbits. And the cucurbits are the melons and the cantaloupe, the cucumbers and the pumpkin. It wipes them out all the time.
Mr. Freckleton, how is it impacting your members this time round?
Very severely. And we have a project working on right now to convert some of the mined-out pits, bauxite mined-out pits, into reservoirs to assist in this regard. But we have to step up the pace at which this is going, because annually, and with climate change increasing, the effects of it increasing, negative effects increasing from year to year, it's a recurring decimal. It's not an easy business, by itself. And to be removing GCT to put another burden on the backs of the farmers is really, really untenable at this time. Untenable. WTO or no WTO, our farmers are going to feel it, and it just seems to me that they're feeling it every single day. If it's not from the climate, it's from unfair competition, etc., etc. It's about time now that we, as I said before, that we get together and deal with this matter of food sovereignty once and for all. Or else, the next generation is going to feel it. Yeah.
Anthony Freckleton, Lenworth Fulton, Sherman Campbell. That's all the time we have for this evening. Thank you so much. And please keep us abreast of the work of that committee and how things are going on it.
Thank you.
We will, sir, and I appreciate it. Good.
Okay, good. This is Nationwide at 5. After the break, what happened in Baltimore with that bridge, spectacularly, coming down, plunging into the river, The police say divers no longer able to safely navigate crash site after recovering 2 bodies today, It's a really gripping story, After the break.
The Watchman, exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional, Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Putting the budgeting process in perspective, I have known of Jamaican families who, on the meagerest of budgets, keep shelter over their head and clothes on their back, eat food, albeit less than 3 square meals a day, deal with sickness and other setbacks, send children to school, and in less than a generation, rise out of dire poverty. They are able to do it because the parents have a compelling dream that their children will have a better life than they were able to achieve. A budget that is unhinged from a carefully crafted vision of the future can limit the prospects of a family or a nation. For Jamaica, that vision is to be the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. The document titled Vision 2030 is the country's first strategic development plan. It is a comprehensive roadmap embodying 4 goals and 15 national outcomes covering the 21-year period from 2009 to 2030. In the current budget debate, which began with the contribution of the Minister of Finance and Public Service presentation to Parliament on March 13, 2024, there is nary a mention of Vision 2030 by any of the speakers thus far. Without being anchored to a strategic outlook of the future, the budgeting exercise is diminished to a spectacle, a numbers game. Most Jamaicans tune out. If they do listen, it's like staying up Christmas Eve on the odd chance that Santa will appear, bringing goodies. Prime Minister, in his contribution to the budget debate, admitted as much. I quote him, "When we are approaching a budget, the question that is being asked is, what good is the government is going to announce?" End of quote. The Jamaican electorate wants more than goodies, which are mere palliatives that ease the symptoms but leave the underlying cause of the problem untreated. Based on the Prime Minister's own assessment of the results of the recently held local government elections, the electorate sent 2 clear messages. I again quote him. The first message was that while most constituents appreciated to varying extent the importance of macroeconomic growth and stability, they want to see that macroeconomic success translated into meaningful benefits at the microeconomic level. The second message from the people was that while they see progress, they have been waiting for a long time and want to know when it is going to be their turn. End quote. As was the case with the 2023-2024 budget, the record 1.3 trillion Jamaican dollars 2024-2025 budget contains a long list of goodies. When will our governments learn that goodies-laden budgets do not guarantee electoral victory? Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Yes, me get the last cheese.
Taste the beat. Brothers and sisters, at the end of Easter service, we have cheese. Taste the beat. But one day we get no bun and cheese. Taste the beat. Serve, sell me some bun and cheese. Taste the beat. Why, this looking nice with some tasty cheese. Taste the beat. Could I have some cheese, please? Taste the beat. Make we get on real bad with the tasty cheese, boy. Tasty beats with tasty cheese.
When someone is on top of things, it shows. On top of the day, on top of the game, on top of the world. And no other card puts you in charge like your new VM Visa credit card. Every click, insert, tap, or swipe solves a problem, sweetens a moment, and unlocks rewards. So what puts you in control of purchases, payments, and a global platform of perks? This card can. Get your VM Visa Gold or Visa Platinum credit card today. For more information, visit myvmgroup.com or call us at 876-754-8627.
Welcome Deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go want to buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome Deluxe, The cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery. National Baking Company, just so good.
There's a new gym on the block. Listen up, Portmore. Express Fitness is coming to the Big Buy Plaza. Get ready to sweat at our brand new location. And here's the best part. To celebrate, we're offering an unbeatable deal of only $1,000 for the first month. That's right. For only $1,000, you'll have access to state-of-the-art equipment and a community that's all about reaching your fitness goals. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer. Head down to Express Fitness at Big Buy Plaza in Portmore, where your journey to a better you begins.
Know your numbers and take control of your life. Don't wait till it's too late. Check your doctor today. Yeah. Get your BMI check, your blood pressure check, your blood sugar and cholesterol check. We're living well when we stay on top of our health. Know your numbers and take control of your life. Don't wait till it's too late. Check your doctor today. Know your numbers and take control. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hello?
Nadine?
Yeah?
Me just pick up one Maxfield Easterbun up by supermarket phone.
One Maxfield, but nah go do.
Nadine, that is all I could afford.
Uncle Pat, Daddy, and Jeffrey only eat bun back. And bun only come with front back and back. So where next back I go come from?
If you want more Maxfield Easterbun, go up at the supermarket or check maxfieldbakery.com.
Yeah, I forgot send credit for put on service then.
Come on from my phone. Sure. Maxfield Easterbun, tweet to the max.
Welcome back. It's 7:15 and we're going over to the United States where a major bridge, the Francis Scott Bridge in Baltimore, has collapsed after a Singaporean vessel crashed into the support structure holding up the bridge. So far there says there's been 2 people who have been confirmed dead, another 4 are missing, and 2 people have been recovered who were wounded due to the collapse. We're having on to discuss the matter 38-year-olds on the Baltimore TV, a local pastor and president CEO of TTC Communications, Dr. Tim Tuten. Good evening, Dr. Tuten.
Good evening.
Good evening to you. Certainly thankful that I could join you.
So, can you give us the latest... Hello, sir, can you hear us? Dr. Tuten?
Yes, I can. In fact, the very latest, you mentioned, Cliff, you mentioned it at the top of your show, that they have recovered 2 more bodies that were in a pickup truck about 25 feet down into the Tapsco River, and this is right there where the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed. This certainly is quite the tragedy, not just for Baltimore, but for Maryland and beyond, to your point as to why we're speaking. But this bridge was built back in the mid-'70s, and one of my neighbors said the other day, she said, Tim, this is like our 9/11. It's like a landmark. And certainly a lot of prayers for the families. It's bringing this community together even closer.
And speaking of the community, the impact of a major bridge collapsing cannot be pleasant. How has that affected transport and the livelihoods of those in that area?
That is one of the key pieces. The governor of Maryland, Governor Wes Moore, mentioned today that while it has gone to a recovery mode in terms of trying to find the rest of those workers, Baltimore, he mentioned today, has one of the major ports in the world. And so there are a lot of containers, a lot of barges certainly that are at bay trying to get in. But right now, they're not giving a timeline as to how long that could take. But it will affect the port of Baltimore in a major way. And I know that that's what we're hearing, even beyond certainly our condolences for those families.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to have implications for supply chains, not only in the U.S., but in North America and possibly across the world, sir.
That is correct. And that's what we're hearing. The Biden administration has certainly pledged to assist There's been a state of emergency declared in Maryland. And in terms of when the bridge is going to be rebuilt, that's certainly on the agenda. But to your point, what's most critical now beyond bringing comfort to those families is how are we going to be impacted? Not just Maryland, but to your point, everyone around the world. It is a major port here in Baltimore.
Dr. Tooten, I see they are now giving a briefing, and the NTSB chairman is saying that 21 crew members, 2 pilots were on board at the time of the accident, and that there's more than 700 tons of hazardous material on board the container vessel?
That's what we're hearing. That's a massive vessel, by the way, and you're able to see something I'm probably not seeing locally right now. And it is certainly what I'm hearing. I didn't hear the alarm that it was hazardous from the standpoint of for there to be certainly fear, but there's concern about how long it is going to take to move that vessel, to assess the damage on the vessel, and once that vessel is moved, of course, begin to move parts of that bridge. But this is a major story. I've been on local TV for 35 years in Baltimore. I know this community. It's about 25 minutes from where I live. I'm a local pastor as well, so there's been an effort on the faith front to really pray, and we're so grateful for those who are praying around the world as Baltimore tries to get through this season.
Yeah.
And certainly, I wonder, what are the redundancies built into that area to allow for essential normalcy to return while the bridge is being rebuilt?
We talk about traffic, Cliff. About 35,000 people cross that bridge every day. And as an alternative, is what we call the Beltway, which means it simply goes around the city. That link of the Beltway is not there anymore. And so persons will have to go through 2 of our tunnels. There are 2 tunnels that go into the Baltimore, go through Baltimore. If you've ever been on this part of the area. And if you're carrying hazardous materials, the key bridge was the bridge to take. And now it's going to be certainly a lot of traffic, and I think that transportation officials are still trying to assess that even now.
Has there been any concerns raised about the structural integrity of the bridge before it was brought down? I mean, I understand it was built in 1977, so certainly standards have changed since then.
That is correct, and that question has come up a number of times during the initial start of this investigation. And I can tell you that because of the size of this ship, I don't think anything could have withstood that. I mean, I think persons are saying, how do we make this better? How do we make it different with the new structure? But this is such a massive vessel that I don't think anything, any structure type would have stopped it. But there have not been problems, at least what we're hearing with the Key Bridge. Certainly iconic because Francis Scott Key, of course, wrote the Star Spangled Banner. It's there near an old Bethlehem steel plant. It's really a part of that community and a part of Baltimore. But I'm not sure that anything structurally would have stopped that vessel.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, President of CE&CO.
Thank you. It's certainly my honor, and we thank you for your concern and your prayers. And hopefully when we're in Jamaica, we'll look to see you in person.
Looking forward to that, Dr. Tooten. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good. This is Nationwide at 5.
We'll be taking your calls after this break. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is revolutionizing your clearance experience as our contactless clearance process becomes mandatory on April 2, 2024. This process will facilitate the clearance of all non-commercial personal shipments at our seaports with a CIF value of less than $5,000 being inspected by customs without you or your agent present. You're encouraged to make your payments using our customs mobile app, JA Customs Connect. Fees payable to your shipping agent and warehouse operator remain applicable. For further information, contact your freight forwarder or email contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or call 876-922-5140-8. The JCA's contactless clearance process is convenient, efficient, and secure. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Maxfield Bakery, breads and buns and
Maxfield Bakery for breads and buns and bullets too. It's Maxfield Bakery for the best piece of bun, you know that's
Maxfield Christmas, Maxfield Easter bun, the juicy fruity Easter bun. Order online and send abroad at maxfieldbakery.com or call Maxfield Bakery at 926-2160 or 929-3897 and get yours before they're done. Skiata says so.
You have dreams and goals for the future. You want to make an impact. The UWI-MONA, the #1 ranked university in the Caribbean, will help you reach your full potential. Our students have gone on to make their mark in all areas, locally and globally. Industry leaders, heads of state, and Rhodes Scholars all got their start with us. Legacies are made at the UWI-MONA. Start building yours. Apply by March 31st at mona.uwi.edu/apply.
7:25, and we're taking your calls. Faithful, you're on the line.
Good afternoon, Siobhan. Good afternoon, Mr. Hughes.
Good afternoon. Cliff is not quite here. He's about to join us, but he's not quite in his seat yet.
Here, pertaining to the Speaker of the House and the tabling of the Auditor General report. I know the Speaker tabled the report, but in her commentary she say she still firm to believe that the Auditor General said anything incorrectly, not in the proper manner.
Yes.
And so if that is the case, it only delay the problem, it don't solve the problem, because further down the road it's going to reoccurrence. And what would be the end result? They're still going to go back and forward.
No, as I understand it, she said during that same presentation that they will be speaking with the Auditor General and try essentially to hash out an appropriate procedure going forward. But ultimately, I believe that the whole matter of how documents are tabled in the House will be coming up at a select committee meeting in sometime in the next parliamentary year or the next fiscal year, and this matter will just be settled in terms of the Integrity Commission, the Auditor General, and they will put new rules in place as to how these things will ultimately be settled.
Because I note Shireen and Darlene and the Speaker are on one side, and I know the rest of person are on the other side. And in my mind, they both sound convincing. So it's very hard to detect who is right and who is wrong.
That's an interesting thing. There's still, and that's what the Speaker has accepted, there seems to be some ambiguity or enough ambiguity in how the thing is phrased that it is open to some interpretation, and one side has taken one and another has taken the other.
Yeah.
And it does need to be settled, which is why we have a committee designed to settle what the
I don't think it's going to be
are.
settled at any committee.
You don't think so? You think it's going to have to
go
to the court?
I think it's going to have to go to court for a declaration.
Exactly.
Yes?
Because I don't know, Siobhan, I don't know if you listened to the morning program this morning. Because I find the morning program very, very interesting. Because Clyde and Archer, they sound very convincing. And further on in the day, when I listen to Cliff Hughes online with Shane Darling, he also sound convincing. So he left me to contemplate the word of Gregory Isaac. How many persons against the world? Because as I say, Shireen and Darlene on one side and the speaker, when everybody else that I hear speak, professing the point that they are wrong and they are right.
Yeah. But even if the court settles on the matter, the House still can simply have the legislation changed as they see fit.
Yeah, they can. Okay, that's right.
They can, but it would not be. That would not be a viable path to take if we have had a declaration from the court.
Exactly.
If we have had a declaration from the court that says no, this is how it ought to be interpreted and applied, I think that's it.
Yes.
And you think that will be settled? That there will be no attempt from either side to go further?
No.
No, you have to respect the court ruling.
Exactly.
Right. Because the speaker is very. I don't. The speaker have it within her to change span of viewpoint. In my mind, she seems very firm in what she believes, and so is Darlene, and so is Golden.
But even so, she has to be respected for at least saying, well, even if I am of this mindset, in order to just allow the process to continue until we do have this matter settled, I will table the reports as convention has allowed for over the last few decades.
Where I defended blame, I think it would go a very, very far away. If she have shared the statement from the auditor, from the government lawyer, with that advisor, if she have shared that, I think that the second matter, that would make it much more easier. I think that's what makes it more complicated.
All right, sir. Thank you. Cleveland.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, Siobhan.
Evening, Cleveland. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Me good. You know, as I listen to all of this argument about the Auditor General and the Speaker of the House and what she do with the report, and now as I hear Mr. Clarke, you know, I've been saying to myself there's something not right. The Speaker keeps saying that the portfolio minister should get the report first. Isn't that what she was saying?
Essentially, yes.
Yes.
And I said the reason why him should get it because Mr. Clarke is saying that so many things in the paper, I'm reading it.
Yes.
You know, and it should never be. The minister shouldn't be reading that in the paper. It should go to his desk and make him look at it and then it pass it back to where it's supposed to go. I don't understand all that.
As I understand it, in most instances, when a report such as this is drawn up, the draft is sent to the portfolio ministry, to the permanent secretary, not necessarily the minister, but the portfolio ministry.
Yes.
What I'm not certain about, if that is the same procedure with statutory bodies. That is the procedure for departments and agencies of the ministry in question. But I don't know how that works in the case of statutory bodies.
But what it's telling me, you know, the PMP is always ahead in these things. And the minister, our portfolio minister, always seems to be in the dark. And I don't think that is right.
And when you say always ahead, what do you mean?
Yeah, because them always have been things out there before even the government even know.
Oh?
Yes. And that's what I get from this thing here as I hear the people talking about it. You know. And to hear some of these people come on and commentate and talking all this morning with those, especially the one, Mr. Williams, him, going like him know every Jesus thing. You know?
The man is
and him pushing it down with throat. You know? Which, if him listed down thing, I think Nadine maybe was the more balanced one on the program this morning. You know? But it showed me that the people sending things to the opposition before time and before government don't even know some of what's going on. You see?
Yes,
and it shows that we have a lot of things that we need to straighten up that we call law in this country. Because the procurement system seems to create in a lot of the problem too. taking too long to deal with these things that, you know, that wouldn't have to be paying so much rent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it.
That statement from the TAJ.
Yeah.
That they had to lease the place before the procurement process
Yes,
started.
before they do anything else.
Yes.
That's-
And when you lease and sign a lease, it means you have to start paying lease fees, rent from the moment you sign.
Yes. There's something not right. But I hope the PMP cleaning up themselves. I know out there know that we're still paying for out of money. That place they get changed on yet, sir? They get to sell it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh. I see. Mr. Chin.
Which Chin?
The MP Chin from
Robert
South
Chin.
Manchester.
Oh, Robert.
Chin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the high sea place is unfair to him. And why I say that? If he says that him trying to get his thing together, we know that some of these things can take long to finish checking on what have you. We know that happen, right? And then put the man in the press as if he is a wrongdoer, like he is a gunman. They must have some better way of doing that, Mr. Hughes and Siobhan. The man is in the house every day.
Well,
every time the parliament open.
We don't know what exactly has happened in this case, save and except the notice that appeared in the Sunday paper.
Yeah, but that no look good for
it can look good and it can look good. But the point is, you don't know, I don't know what communication was had between Mr. Chin and the Integrity Commission.
All of that, Cliff. All of that. The man no run, we're gone away. The man is there and him is not a gangster. And them have gangster out they sit down not we're doing as whatever they want to. All of that, Cliff. It's plain politics. Plain politics, Cliff.
Well, we're
These
into...
are
well, I keep on saying it. We're now into a long, bitter election campaign. We unofficially, since February 26th, we are on a campaign now.
No good.
It can't be good for the country.
No good.
Yeah.
The other thing that I hear Mr. Golden said the Prime Minister must apologize to him. Apologize for what? Mr. Golden never apologized about anything himself and do? Nothing. He never hear him say one wing and just say when him say I'm gone underground and then he wake up back again and come and with another bag of argument about people. I never hear him apologize about nothing that him say. And nobody not there bully riding him for apologize. Right? But he might call for Mr. Holness to apologize. Okay,
all right, Cleveland. Won't make for say anything, don't it? Time for the break.
The Integrity Commission Statutory Declaration form has changed. Download the new form and file securely within your organization before March 31. The time by the Integrity Commission is
7:37.
Hello?
Nadine?
Yeah?
Me just pick up one Maxfield Easterbun up by supermarket phone.
One Maxfield, but nah go do.
Nadine, that is all I could afford.
Uncle Pat, Daddy, and Jeffrey only eat bun back. And bun only come with front back and back. So where next back I go come from?
If you want more Maxfield Easterbun, go up at the supermarket or check maxfieldbakery.com.
Yeah, I forgot send credit for put on service then.
Come on from my phone. Sure. Maxfield Easterbun, tweet to the max.
$7:37, and we're still taking your calls. Carl, you're on the line.
Yeah, evening, Mr. Lewis.
Good evening.
Oh, you get a lot of beat and teach yesterday evening. A little bit they want here, and I forget over beaten. A 3 consecutive area come this team. misleading of the Jamaica Parliament. The tax raise when not go so. So Nigel have to teach you and beat you at the same time. Anyhow, Mr. Dolly, today, which you interview a lawyer. He is an interpreter of the law. And he said, the speaker doesn't wrong. The speaker should use Section 30 of the Constitution. So I am going after somebody which can interpret the law. So we definitely would like to see tested inside the court. Because if that is there, if Section 30 is the one that we should use and not Section 29, then the Speaker of the House will be dead right. If that's the one that she was using. So what you have to say about that, Mr. Hughes?
Let me tell you something, you see? I am going to leave this one for the courts to decide. Yes? Because I am no lawyer, and I see people quoting sections of the law that support their point. Yes?
Right.
And therefore, I think we should settle it in court. Go to the court for a declaration of this.
Because the speaker was relying on...
Hold on for me, Carl. We gather that there's been a major accident on the Edward Seaga Highway, and we have the head of PSTEB, Assistant Commissioner Gary McKenzie. Good evening, ACP McKenzie.
Good evening to you, Mr. Hughes, and your listeners and viewers.
What happened on the Edward Seaga Highway?
Well, about 3:40 p.m. today, a GLE Benz motor car with 3 males aboard were traveling southerly when on reaching about in the Wakefield area at kilometer 13. What appeared to have happened is that the driver who was traveling along the roadway appeared to have lost control of the vehicle in that it veered to the left, it went over across the roadway into a gully, and as a result of that, they suffered minor injuries really, but the vehicle itself was damaged badly.
Mm-hmm.
The police went on the scene as well as other rescuers, and they were rescued and the vehicle recovered.
So it wasn't a major accident?
No, it was not as major as it could have been.
Yes. Okay. So they suffered minor injuries.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And the vehicle itself badly damaged?
The vehicle is badly damaged.
Okay.
There was no major disruption to transport along that thoroughway, I hope?
No major disruption apart from persons slowing down to view what had happened.
Okay. Thank you very much, ACP McKenzie.
You're most welcome.
Good. Yes. All right. So back to you, Carl. Oh, Carl dropped. We lost him. Okay, who is next? Okay.
I wonder, Mr. Hughes, I would hope that this matter does not have to go to the courts. I would hope that you say it ultimately has to go there, but I would hope that our representatives can, between them, sit down and settle on the proper procedures going forward. I'm sure there's at least some interest on both sides for that to happen. Call it naive hope.
I won't call it anything. I will just simply say, given the state of politics in the country today, where it's all to play for, yes, I don't see the environment being conducive for that.
So you believe as we get closer to an election,
it's
a
going to
general
get
election,
worse.
The notion of compromise just goes out the window?
I think so. Yeah? The political stakes are too high. Yes? And nobody wants to cede an inch in terms of political advantage. And it is dangerous for the country. We're entering a period of uncertainty. where governance is going to be becoming more difficult. Yes, because everything is going to be seen through orange or green lens. The most innocuous and innocent of action and word is going to be viewed as political.
For example, that intervention by Peter Bunting regarding the 2 reports relating to the Ministry of Finance.
And the minister says he had no sight of the report or knew anything about any of its content. But tell Bunting that now. And that's the point I'm making. Everything is going to be seen as political.
But does that not become exhausting? Not only to the political director, but to the Jamaican people. This notion that anybody not on my side is evil, and anything on my side is always the right thing.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that kind of black and white thinking when it comes to the political landscape that we currently exist in. Do we automatically assume that our opponents are just the most evil, base persons, and those on our sides are just smelling of roses and the greatest of saints?
And let me tell you, it's not as bad as it used to be, Chevron. Let me quickly add that. Yeah. We're coming from a place where we used to kill each other. We no longer do that. Yeah? We're not killing each other. We're not shooting each other now. Yeah? We are being very critical, unfairly, most times. Yeah? We're exaggerating. We're stretching facts. Yes? To try and put a spin on things. Yes? So when you look at it over that trajectory, then we're at a better place. But I am worried, I'm concerned that it could degenerate pretty quickly.
And the lies, at some point you get exhausted having to correct them. To this day, I'm still seeing people suggesting that there's some outstanding IC report regarding those members of the parliamentarian that have the so-called illicit six.
Exactly.
And now I'm seeing another variation of that which suggests, there's a new report from the IC saying that there's 7 PNP MPs who are... At some point I just stop and I don't correct it anymore. And I think that shows a problem. You run out of... You get exhausted and you run out of steam in correcting the constant misinformation. And in a sense, they win because... when you start shutting up, people start saying, oh, it's true then.
You just look on social media, the constant torrent of lies, yeah, emanating from the bloggers, the activists, yes. Some of them come here on our YouTube platform and they try to peddle the same lies, yes.
Richie, evening.
Good evening. Sir Hughes and Machivan. I keep hearing so many people calling down and coming down on the Speaker of the House. Why they don't talk about the so-called Integral Commission, which for 11 months they talk about the illicit and until now they can't give us this vote. Why they don't talk about those people? Just a question I ask, why they don't talk about those people? I am really tired of these people coming with them foolishness all the while. Next thing again, a lady called us today, talk about Ricardo Brooks. You remember that lady that he used?
Yes.
And I believe she said that Ricardo Brooks is coming across whatever. Keep interjecting too early. And I agree. So many people keep telling me that when you notice you call Ricardo is not giving enough time to talk. And they keep saying that Ricardo Brooks is a PNP supporter and I will not agree. The reason being, Ricardo is coming across too sunny. He's not willing to listen to people to make the points. And I think it's something that Ricardo need to notice. My next point, if it's me alone will say this, that I am in support of the government to walk out of the Parliament. The reason being, the Margot and the PMP, they are behaving as they on the government. And the government walk out and let them know that we are the leaders and you are the followers. You me say? So I support of it.
How would walkout show that they are the leaders and not the followers? How does that compute?
Because
if you are the government and you're the leaders, you stay inside here and duke it out with them.
That's your opinion. That's not
yes,
mine.
it is. It is certainly mine.
That is not mine. That is yours.
But how is your one logical? Tell me how logical yours is.
My logic?
Yes.
That Margoldin and the PMP, they don't have a foundation on what they're basically trying to bully the government. So the government just walk out and let them know that we are leaders.
And walking out shows that the government are the leaders?
Please?
Yes.
Repeat.
Walking out. The act of walking out demonstrates leadership?
It demonstrates leadership in the sense that the PMP must know that they are followers. They are not leaders because all they keep doing over this period of time is to keep bullying the government. It might be unconstitutional to you know, which it really is. But they need to set an example, and they did it.
All right, Richie, I hear you. All right.
Richie too. Richie.
Hello.
Yes, Richie. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Now, I'm going to be very careful about what I say, so you don't get your station in trouble. But there was a news item on a certain station not so long ago about the AG report on the FSE and the auditor and the tax admin. They skillfully say who the landlord is who on the bill is rented from. But that report about SSL and the $700,000 US that was spent on some conference, and it was a disaster. Nobody turned up for it, so they lost most of that money. They are the 4.5 was paid, and 4.5 million overpaid to an executive director. They didn't say who the executive director is. But I want to ask you to find out, get some more information on that item. Who was the executive director at the time? And the connection of the executive director to a certain member of parliament. I won't call names because I don't want any problems. But I repeat, that executive director was inherited by the JLP administration in 2017, 2016. And that executive director is a person who spent the $700,000. I remember there was an argument about it to bring all these people here for the conference, and a dozen people, they had 100 people that turned up for it, so we lost all of that money. Now, I can't call a person's name because, clearly you can't call names. But I'm going to ask you guys are very good at investigating. Find out who was the executive director at the time when that money was spent, and what's the connection of that executive director to a certain member of parliament. Check it out. Because they're making heavyweight of the rental of the property by Dr. Dunn to the PAG. I don't see how that is big news. They want to make it news because they want to say something wrong with that. Nothing's wrong with that. TAG acquired a property and they have to refurbish the property. There's procurement things to be done. It's just to, create something to make the government look bad. I don't normally call this program, but when you see injustice, you have to talk about it. They skillfully try to bring out everything to make the government look bad. Are you there, sir? Hello?
Yes,
we hear you.
We're hearing you. We're listening to you.
Right. So I'm going to ask you again. Check it out. Find out who was the executive director at the time that's overpaid $4.5 million.
Well, it was a female executive director.
That's correct, sir. And find out what's the connection of that executive director to a certain member of parliament.
Who
Do you know?
Who was said to be, or is said to be in a domestic, intimate relationship with a member.
A living relationship.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So, we just said, the people need to know what's really happening and how the security news to make it look like it. It happened on the JLP. JLP just come into office and that person was there. And I suppose that has to do with the removal too.
Oh. All right, sir. All right. I think that's where we're going to leave it for the evening. Yes. But some work for you to go do, Chevron.
I'll do my research. There's one thing that I feel I'm peerless in this business is research.
Oh. Oh, you're big and broad. Eh? Well. That's where we're going to leave it for this evening. We want to say thanks to members of the news and production team, and of course to our producer, Sonia Stewart, our technical operator, Andrew Anderson, and of course, yes, to all our YouTubers, WhatsAppers, and our tweeps. Yeah, the YouTubers, Linda Ming, Cliff knows the story good. Really? Why you think me know it? Jacqueline Thomas, good evening. She says, Chev. She refers to you, the Chevron. Chev. Marigold Weber, bye. Have a good evening, Marigold. Be safe now, she says. Yes, Brandon Ormsby, Paul Peart, Andrea Henry, Brandon Webb, Wilbert Davis. Yeah? And who's this? Shirley Scooth? Cliff, if you stay there, you don't love her. Yeah? Well, whoever that is. Cheese Man. Yeah, Godfrey Smith. Yeah, Philip Jackson. Chevron, who is going to play music Friday night?
Philip, let me tell you this. Ricardo says he wants to do away with it, but I'm going to find a way to preserve that segment.
Uh-huh.
So I will do what I need to do to ensure that there's at least that little bit left. But Ricardo Brooks has vehemently said to me he does not want to continue with the music segment.
Oh, it's not his strong suit.
It's neither of our strong suits.
Okay.
But we can find ways to continue it. We did when Mr. Davis took his vacation. I'm sure we can find ways to continue it.
Very well. All right. I'm Cliff Hughes. You are?
I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.